job, Gabe. Damn. Hey guys, it's me, your buddy Gabe El Taib. I'm very excited to have you guys here, and I have a great guest today. I really admire this guy. I don't know much about him. I've only spoke to him a tiny bit, but he does his artwork in a way that I think all of us illustrators, writers, anyone making art, you want to be fearless when you do your art. You know what I'm saying? And he seems to be able to pull it off, and it's genius. And you know, he's a eccentric kind of guy in a very pleasant way. So in honor of being a little weird but really cool, I'm going to sing for you guys a song that I made up about Narwhal, and then I'm bringing them on. So here we go. It's to the tune of Star Wars. Narwhal, nothing but Narwhal. If it must be now, let it be him. Narwhal, nothing but Narwhal. He draws crazy adventures. Let them begin. And how does he tell such amazing stories with such a unique art style? And now, for the pleasure of my audience, allow me to bring out my guest. Narwhal, nothing but Narwhal. He draws crazy adventures. Let them begin. Okay, that's enough. Yes, you could. I'm waiting for a singing contract. So
you can carry a tune really well. That's one of the hardest tunes to carry.
Did I embarrass you, my friend?
No, that's good. Thanks.
I'm waiting to be roasted. Oh, Beard Gasmatron with the roast. Gabe sings like JCVD dances. I'll take it. So happy to have you here. Very excited, friend. I don't know you, but we talked a little bit before the show. We've talked on stream once or twice, but I really admire what you're doing. How are you doing today?
Good. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. I'm kind of starting a little bit of the pre it's like this is pre-launch, but little promo campaign for Nosferatu. So that's what I'm up to.
Right. Yeah, we'll get to all that stuff right away. It's in the description, guys, if you want to check out a new book that you're launching next week. Right?
Yeah, I think next Thursday I'm going to launch it.
Next Thursday. Okay. Well, I'll be supporting and retweeting. You just let me know what you need because I know it's going to be gorgeous. But before we show a little bit of that, would you indulge me and the audience so they can get to know you a little bit? Let's go back to the beginning of art for you and comics and illustration and all that. And just what's your foundation in that? What was the first cartoon, comic book, whatever that you saw that just made you fall in love right there? What was it?
Yeah, good question. I loved X-Men and G.I. Joe as a kid. I watched all the Saturday morning cartoons, watched Ghostbusters was one that I loved. And DuckTales and I don't know. But my favorite first comics, it's kind of boring, but I think I made like a conscious decision in like early high school to be like, I'm going to get into comics. Where should I start? And it's like if you ask that question, you get a definitive answer often. And it's like, well, if you're starting with American comics, read Dark Knight Returns, Watchmen, and then maybe read Mouse, like some of these like classics. I read all three of those and I loved them. And then I was kind of into comics from there. And there's a little like lore to that I realized in hindsight too, is those books, all three of them came out. The graphic novels came out in 1986. So that was like, like an important year for comics. That was the year I was born. So I'm like, yes, I want to carry on the tradition of good graphic novels.
I'm Googling it right now. When did The Killing Joke come out? Because
that was, I mean, I'm guessing it's like 89 or something.
It was a little bit later.
Maybe. Let's see. Alan Moore, right?
Okay. It's 1988, The Killing Joke. But all in that same zeitgeist. Very, very close.
Close. So there's another one kind of in there that I like a lot too, is Grant Morrison's Arkham Asylum, which I want to reread. But I remember being that one, the first comic I ever read, where I was actually like confused the entire time, but that was good. It was like, it felt good to be confused. And I was like, comics, they're kind of can be better than movies. And a lot of like Y the Last Man kind of made me feel like that. I'm like, this is like better than HBO, better than whatever else. And
I really, I feel the exact same way you do. I think you're exactly right. Comic books are their unique art form. And I'm so proud that they're an American art form, invented here about 100 years ago. And they can take you somewhere that nothing else can. Movies are much more passive. Books are fantastic too, but there's just who doesn't love beautiful illustration? There's not a person you can show an amazing drawing to that they won't say, oh my God. So comics combine the best of what novels are and the best of what illustration is. So I agree with you completely. So how old are you here when you get into these, when you read these graphic novels? How old are you? Middle school, high school?
Yeah, that was like early high school, I think. And in high school, I was trying to decide what I wanted to do. In school, I was the kid that of the class, I was the artist. But what you realize too, is as soon as you compare yourself to your class or the kids in your town, I was the best. But as soon as you compare yourself to the world, you're like terrible. And that, like, this is pre-internet too. So I see kids now with amazing art. And you find out they're like in high school. And I'm like, whoa, they're so much better than I was when I was in high school. But it was that process of slowly kind of start trying to get better kind of began around then too. I did my first comic was like my senior project, and I found it recently and reread it, and it's just like so cringy and terrible. and just, of course, and then in my 20s, I got really into movies and really into screenwriting. And I had like a buddy who was into it too. He was a little older, and he taught me, he worked at a video store. So he like gave me a ton of like, some of them are like art films and stuff. And that's kind of became a big imprinting thing on my style too, is just kind of a love of movies. And I was talking to someone about this. This is not necessarily the case back then, but now I feel this a little stronger too, is that like TV, like I don't like Netflix these days, really. It's kind of rare that I'll like, and I like movies, but even movies are not as good as they used to be. But I don't really watch TV. I'll just watch movies. And that's like my rule, because TV forces you, or a movie forces you to think a little more creatively about structure and stuff,
Right.
and it's just a little bit more inspiring creatively. Um, and yeah, I don't know why the industry's like that right now, but it just feels that way. But
No, I think you're exactly right about movies versus television. I think television is like eating at 7-Eleven. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, it'll do, but I don't want to eat here unless you love it. And then movies, it's more like a fine meal you make yourself or you go out somewhere nice. There's a lot more involvement. It demands your attention because it's longer, it's more complex. So I think you're exactly right about that. I feel like comic books and cinema are cousins because all movies basically they're comic books first. For those in the audience that don't know, they're storyboarded first, and a storyboard is basically a comic book. They will draw out the whole movie on. They do it digitally now, but they'll draw it all out on paper.
yeah,
Um, Let me ask you about. Okay, so you had a friend. You said at a video store. You worked. Oh, did you work at a Blockbuster?
no, it
Oh,
was in Austin, and I forget what it was called, but it was like one of those like in Seattle, there's one called Scarecrow Video,
uh
but
huh.
where it's just one in the whole city, and it's kind of famous almost, and they have like
Okay.
weird movies. And yeah, and he'd be like, watch this one, watch this one. He just gives me free rentals. And I was doing he had a movie screenplay and I was doing development art for it to help him try and sell it. That was kind of our trade.
Oh,
And
really?
then from there we co-wrote some screenplays together. And I ended up learning a lot from him from doing that process. And yeah, like my comics that I do for I don't know why I feel this way, but I really like my reading my comics to feel like watching a movie. So like Earthbound is actually based on a movie screenplay I wrote. And if you read parts 1 and 2, it's going to take you like 2 hours to read, or 2 hours and 20 minutes,
Oh,
somewhere in there.
wow.
And then
Okay.
so it's like it could be a movie. It's based on a movie script. Like the script is 135 pages or something, and then the comic is 240 pages, I think. So it
Wow.
just like that's kind of like a lot of my projects. That's the way I write now too. I just write. I don't format it as a comic. I just write a movie script. Then I go and I do. If I know it's going to be a comic, that changes some things. Like you're thinking, making sure it'll work as a comic. Because some things could be like,
Sure.
if it's like yeah, like just like super cinematic with music, like that might not work in a comic. So you avoid writing that. But you finish the script, then I thumbnail it, and then it's kind of laid out from thumbnails. I know the panels and stuff, and then I start making it a comic.
Okay, let me read this super chat, and I want to ask you something directly related to what you're saying there about your design and stuff. Narwhal has grown out a mountain man beard. General Piggy says for $1.99. Thank you for the generous donation, General Piggy.
Good
So they like
observation.
your beard. I just
Yeah,
shaved mine today. I trimmed. Did
yeah,
anyone ever
yeah.
tell you you look like comedian Owen Benjamin slightly?
Oh yeah, that's funny. People do tell me that, and I don't
Okay.
mind. I like him. He's funny though. I haven't seen him in a while because he got like double canceled. He's like
Yeah, he got
hard to
double,
find.
triple canceled. Yeah. So you're
Yeah.
talking about writing screenplays and adapting them to comics and things like that. Let me back up a step from there. You're a young man. Did you go to art school, college? Did you go to film school? Did you do any of that, or are you mostly self-taught? How does this work?
Yeah, out of high school, I did go to art school, but I didn't go for that long. I went to the Art Institute of Seattle for 6 quarters, I think, and then kind of dropped out. It was too expensive. And I realized when I was in there, it's like that's one that you just pay to go to and anyone gets in. So like all the kids I was with, they weren't that good. And I was like, I don't know if I should be here. This feels like it could be like a scam or whatever. So I
Oh,
dropped out and then I went to the Art Institute of Seattle, which I like.
okay.
Looking back, maybe it was a slightly different era then, but if YouTube was what it was now, I totally wish I wouldn't have gone to college. It was kind of like a lot of money, and you don't learn that much, and the networking wasn't
No.
that good. Some of my friends that I made from at Evergreen, like we had falling outs because they end up being super SJW or whatever, like 5 years
What?
later.
That doesn't sound like Seattle to me. No.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's a good spidey sense you had there about the expensive art school. That's very wise of you. So, yeah, because I went to art school. Well, I didn't go to art school. Sorry, I went to the University of Northern Colorado, and I got a degree in graphic arts, emphasis in visual design. So I didn't pay crazy prices. But let me ask you this about when you went to art school and you said all these people weren't very good. I felt like when I was in college, even at a state school like I went to, people who were in the art department, the students, they weren't there because they loved art like you and me, like you have to make art. They were there because they love the idea of being a rock star. They love the idea of people kissing their ass and being the fancy artist and all that. Did you get that vibe when you went to art school too? Because I totally got it.
Yeah, I think I did. At Evergreen, I met one other guy who I really vibed with just as an artist, and he was like a poet. And so like I'd hang out with him and but everyone else was you couldn't really find people that were kind of into it on the level that I was, I think, that you and me are or
Okay.
whatever.
Yeah, because I just feel like God put that in me, and I can tell He just put it in you. Because before I brought you on, I said you do something that I'm getting to, but I think all artists struggle with is just a fearlessness of no, this is who I am. I'm not drawing or writing for pretense like SJWs. They draw to get applause. You know what I mean?
Oh,
They
that's
don't.
true. Yeah.
They write
Or
and
even
draw.
worse, they draw to get a PP touch or they want one, but they never get it.
Same thing. Yeah, I heard. Yeah, like my daughter's a stand-up comedian, and she's doing a professional show in March, actually.
Oh,
And I'm
awesome.
very proud of her. She just told me that last night. She just got invited to do a real professional show because she's doing a lot of open mics. And in the SJWs of the comedy world, they say they tell jokes for applause. Real comedians tell jokes for laughs. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I that's one thing about your art that I really like. So that's why I wanted to dig into like your art school or what was it, but because I couldn't stand a lot of my classmates that were like artistes or whatever. So J Doe says, "Oh, Evergreen, ground zero for the SJW plague." So I don't know, but he knows.
Yeah, after I graduated, it was a few years after. Like another thing, when I was there was one guy who was on the GI Bill, and he was in my we had like a sculpture kind of program thing, art history thing we are doing, and I hung out with him, and he was cool. But like again, like other than that, it was SJWs. I think when we were there was a riot on campus once, and blah blah blah. But like then a few years ago, they had the worst shit ever with like Brett Weinstein. It was all in the news, and Evergreen they like almost died. It like the enrollment went way low, and I don't know how they're doing these days, but they are shadow their former self and they have a bad reputation, kind of. So
Yikes. Yikes. Okay, so I want to come back to your life story that we're going over here. Okay, so you fell in love with the graphic novels of Dark Knight and all that stuff, and you were also born in '86, so it's destiny.
yeah,
But
Destiny.
someone had a question here, and I can't stop reading it, and I want to see it too. Tippy Tail McKitty says, "Narwhal, show the panel." I'm going to say it angrily. Narwhal, show the panel of Nosferatu biting the woman. Love that panel. When you become a father, Narwhal, I don't know if you are or aren't, but once you become a
No.
father, you will master speaking through your teeth to your children. So,
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I'll pull that up. We can look at it later. Do you
okay.
want me to look for it now or?
Oh no, I put you on the spot. We'll get to it. Let me look at the chat while you're looking, and let's see. Sanguine Tail says everything is a remix. Steal like an artist. So okay, that's a decent comment. And then Cal Arts is pure soy. Tippy Tail McKitty says, I agree. The Cal Arts style with all of that new horrible Thundercats and that Steven Universe stuff. Um, when I was in school, let me ask you this, and the students wanted to be rock stars. They didn't love art. They didn't revere or respect it. But then the professors, a lot of them, they were like failed SJW artists, I think, a lot of my professors, and they hated comic books and illustration and Leyendecker and Norman Rockwell and all the great representational, beautiful art. They hated that stuff. Did you run into that at any of the schools you went to?
Yeah. That was a problem at Evergreen, especially that there was a film and animation program I tried to get into for like 2 or 3 years. I applied, I think 3 times. I got denied every time, and the lady wouldn't let me in. It was like classic SJW gatekeeping. The lady who ran it, and I just know she wouldn't let me in because whatever vibe she got from me, like the straight white male who likes RoboCop or something. She's like, you
How
can't
dare
do,
you?
yeah, to my animation
Yeah.
thing.
Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I still remember one lady, Charlotte, short red hair, strident woman, hated me because I loved comic books and representational art. She wanted me to paint more triangles or something. I don't know. So this
Yeah.
is gorgeous here. This is gorgeous. So obviously,
Thanks.
so
Yeah.
Nosferatu, I put it in the chat for people to go check out and get on the mailing list. I'll put it in there again right now because it probably already scrolled by. Tell us about this book. When is it going to go on Indiegogo? And just give us a little brief synopsis of what it is and what inspired you to do this project.
Yeah, so it launches next week. Oh, let me answer real quick too, just a little bit on, like you mentioned that I have a certain fearlessness, is that there's a story to that. Is when I'm 35 now. When I was 30 is kind of when in earnest I made the decision, like I need to start working on a big book now, because I'd done little books and I'd been writing a lot, but I was like, I need to be working on comics now, or my life will be meaningless or whatever. So I'm like, it was like early midlife crisis as turning 30. So I start this book, and it was Earthbound, and it was based on, I was like, I have this script, I think it's good. I had written it when I was 27, but that was like the first script I wrote that I thought was good, because I wrote a bunch that were not good. After you wait a month and reread them, you're like, oh, dang it, it sucks. I thought it was good, it sucks. But Earthbound, I'm like, it's still pretty good. So I started doing that. But then what was funny is jumping into a project like that, it can kind of be paralyzing because it's just me. So I'm like, all right, character designs. And I'm like, oh, I got to like design this whole world and all these characters. So I was like, okay, I do a sketch. And I'm like, all right, that's the guy. And I'm like, I'm not gonna overthink this.
Oh,
And
that's
so
hilarious.
so I just jumped in and I like flew by the seat of my pants. And Earthbound did get an immediate response of positivity, and it's totally in that realm where everyone kind of responds to the energy and the FU vibe from it, kind of. And on top of that, that wouldn't work if it doesn't have a good story or whatever. But I think those things combine well. So I got early on that positive reinforcement that, oh yeah, I should like try to kind of embrace, the things that make it special and not worry too much, don't overthink things. It seems like people do like that. So that was kind of lucky for me that happened. And then it was right around then that I was working on Earthbound, and then I kind of work on Earthbound and Foreign Agent was my second book, kind of at the same time a little bit. And then I started in the evenings, I was like, what if I try to do something where I don't have to write anything? And I'm like, well, it could be, I could like adapt a silent film maybe. And so I watched Nosferatu a bunch, and there's like a couple different versions of it. I watched them all, and I thumbnailed like my version of it, pretty much copying those movies, but a little bit mixtaping it, like taking this scene from this movie, this scene from this.
Awesome.
And yeah. Then the thumbnail was done, and it was, I think, 66 pages. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool too. Like, cause it's Nosferatu and he's like kind of satanic or whatever. And it's 66.
Pretty evil guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then I just started drawing it, and it released it in the sketchbook bonus book for my major campaigns. They would collect 20 pages of Nosferatu at a time. Now it's all done. And so I'm like, I want to release this collected edition, basically, is what it is.
Very cool. Well, since you brought up Earthbound and then you kind of segued into Nosferatu, let's hold off on the Nosferatu. We'll make that the big thing. But can we show people that video that the great Shanthan Jetty made of Earthbound? Do you want to show that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I'm going to make that full screen. I don't know how long it is. I think it's a minute or two or something. I'll be able to tell in a minute here. So let me dig that up. It's on my desktop here. Earthbound. This says it is... Oh, it's 59 seconds. Okay, here we go. Open.
Special? Is he a genius? Is he a savant? Is he like, what's up? Like, this book, nobody else makes stuff like this. I've never read a comic like this ever.
I read it and I got done and I was like, oh man, that went by quick.
It's really immersive. It really pulls you into the world.
Totally forgot how many pages it is. I think it's like 136. I read this in one sitting.
This book should be so critically acclaimed. It's really that good.
20 years ago, this would have come out from one of the big publishers, and it would have been celebrated everywhere as this groundbreaking achievement in comic book storytelling.
To me, this is the biggest discovery of crowdfunding.
All right. Well, I'm going to Google real quick and get the link for that campaign too and throw it in. So do you want to say anything about that to the audience while I dig for that real quick?
Yeah, that one's still in demand. And that one, it feels good that it's done because, like I say, I'm 35 now, and that I wrote it when I was 27, started drawing it when I was 30, cut to 5 years later, now it's in 2 volumes, but it's basically a 250-page graphic novel, and it's done. It's out there. It's like it ends. It has a conclusion. Like the story's over when you finish reading that book. The universe goes on and the characters go on, so there's more stories I could tell. And I started writing a part 3, but that might not come out for a couple years. And I'm excited about that too. But yeah, so it just kind of feels good to have it out there.
Okay, well, let me make sure this won't dox me in any way. I'll just read it. I don't know if this thing will dox me. Thank you for backing this campaign. Thanks for backing Earthbound Part 2. Your contribution is number 1284. So I just backed you, and
Sweet, dude.
Yes. So let me go back to the main page of that, and I'm going to dump it into the chat real quick. But yeah, I've been meaning to get around to backing that, and there you go. I got volume 1 and 2. I expect to see them at my house tomorrow, Mr. No.
Yeah. No, I'll mail it tomorrow. It's on CG now, so it's.
Well, I was joking. I was joking. No rush.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for backing it. That's
absolutely
cool. I'm looking forward to getting you those books.
No, dude, this is how we win. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm talking to David Williams, the guy that's drawing Truth, Justice, American Way, the book that I'm writing and coloring.
It looks amazing. And your coloring's awesome. I really like you did a thing on Ethan's stream where you showed the steps of coloring that I really appreciated. It's cool too, because it only took like 1 minute for you to do it. And I learned a lot just from that,
Yeah. If you guys look on my YouTube channel, I have a video from a week or 2 or 3 ago. And it's a speed paint of the character Truth from Truth, Justice, American Way. You can check that out, and you'll actually see me rendering in Photoshop. And I've screen recorded myself coloring tons of Aaron Lopresti's book, tons of Eric July's book. I'm going to record like everything I do on Truth, Justice, American Way, and make time-lapse videos, and then just speak over the videos. Make them short, make them 5-7 minutes. But yeah, I just had to back Earthbound. I threw it in the into the chat so people can go check it out. And please support it. If you can't afford to support it, at least send the link out to your friends. You know what I mean? That costs you nothing. Just say, hey, guys, check this out. People are making new original art. They're taking a chance. And what I was trying to say earlier is like, this is how we win. It is a culture war. And I hate to like get aggressive and angry and all that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to live there. And David Williams said, instead of yelling at, calling feminists fat and ugly and stupid, let's show people what we love and let's make it and show them why it's precious. And this tradition and this culture should be preserved. That's how we win, instead of ourselves turning into monsters too and screaming back at these people. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of merit to that. What do you think? What do you say?
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, from a certain perspective, I could almost have a chip on my shoulder because of the timing where I didn't get to do the mainstream comics because they were already gatekeeping by the time I kind of was ready to enter, and there's like people a little bit older, they're like getting grandfathered in, and they're being like, "It's just you, man." They're like gaslighting you, Right. But I was going to say, I'm so lucky that I got gate kept, and it's just in hindsight, but that I'm in Comics Gate, because it's so much more successful. It's freed me up and opened me up to be able to do this. And by the way, you showed that video. One of the quotes is from your boy Zach, that's one where he says, like, is he a savant? Blah, blah, blah.
Is he a savant? Is he a genius? Zach is so funny.
Yeah. And he and I, we collaborate now because it's Narzak books, because he liked Earthbound so much. But But he did that review. That was a while back, and it sold out overnight because of his review. So like I woke up and had made like $10,000. And
wow.
And at the time I worked at the Fred Meyer Deli in Portland, and I quit my job that day. I was like, fuck you guys. So
I love that, dude. I worked at Home Depot in college from 2000. I went to college late, like at 21 or 22 years old. But I worked there for 4 years from 2000 to 2004. And when I got a book deal doing children's books, I just went and quit. And I never went back to a normal job. I've just been an artist full time because I was an artist part time since 2000. Yeah. I did the school comics, like a Garfield Dilbert strip. I did that for years at my university and worked for the local newspaper drawing things. But I got this deal doing kids' books, just like your boy Zach blew up your campaign. And it felt so good to quit. And I've been a freelancer for almost 20 years now. So.
Yeah, nice.
How did that day feel when you left? What was the deli? Tell me the name again.
The Fred Meyer Deli.
The Fred Meyer
Deli. So working at Fred Meyer, like it's kind of hellish, kind of terrible, but the experience, you're sort of grateful for it, just to experience that for a certain period of time, because it can almost help your writing, or it can humble you, or it can be so bad that you're like, I need to get out of this. But one funny thing about it was, everyone who worked there was some form in Portland, some form of starving artist, But I was the only one who was really doing anything about it. They were all like complaining and like drinking and whatever. I would drink too or whatever, but it's
But you would drink and do the work. They would just drink and bitch and complain. Well, I want to stop right here and just inspire everyone and say, listen, I've been telling people for years, the way I believe about life and achievement, if one man can do it, or woman, any man can do it. There's no difference between you and anyone else. It's just the system. They followed the steps and then it happened. And I've always told people, for instance, because it's outrageous, but I believe this with conviction, I could be in the NBA in the next 5 years as a sharpshooter. If I quit everything else and just practice shooting a basketball 60 hours a week, I would be so good I couldn't miss. And a team would sign me up to be the guy on the outside to just couldn't miss. I know that's true. And I've told people that for years and they laugh at me. I was watching a Kanye West video last night. I think the man is a genius and he's capable.
Yeah, I do too. He spits mad truth. That's a good litmus test is what people think about Kanye. So
yeah, and he was telling Charlie Rose like 15 years ago, I could be in the NBA if I just practiced for like 5 years. And Charlie Rose laughed in his face. And Kanye's like, no, all I got to do is practice. And he said, my talent is I can learn really well. So all of you out there, the difference between Narwhal and his sad sack coworkers that didn't get anywhere, unfortunately for them, is he did it. He had the balls to just say, I'm going to do it. And even though it didn't work at first, you can't look at hard work and success that way. It's a continuum of years. And then you're an overnight success. You know what I mean? And there is no Zach blowing you up and getting you all this money without all the Fred Meyer and all the bullshit and Evergreen and all the things you went through. And all of you out there that want to make it and do what we're doing, you can do it. Just start today. Even if it's a tiny bit, you're going to make it if you stick to it. So that's Coach Gabe. Sorry, I'll let you have the floor again, Narwhal. So.
Yeah, that's good. And I agree. And yeah, it's like the delayed gratification, kind of the habits. I remember that when I was younger too, thinking like, all right, I need to catch up to the pros because I'm not as good as them. And I'm like, well, the problem is they draw all day because they get paid to draw. And I don't, because I don't get paid to do it. I'm like, all right, I have to start drawing more.
Right.
And like it, you kind of build up the muscle. And now, like, it's not even for me. Like, I don't do these epic. I'm not like Jose. He draws like 10 hours a day, 350 days a week or something. But like now, I'll sit down and I can draw for 4 to 6 hours if I, pretty regularly. And yeah, so just like that, building that muscle of being able to do that in that habit kind of thing.
Very cool. Very cool. We got a cool comment here. Where did it go? Oh, it moved. This guy right here. You know nothing, John Snowden. Just got to say, I was recently able to support the last Narzac campaign to catch up and back the Is This You 3-pack with $4.99. So you got a big fan right here. You know nothing, John Snowden. Thank you so much for supporting me.
Thanks, John.
And I think that bravery that you have to just say, fuck it, I'm going to do this. I tell the world, if you want to stop me, you're going to have to kill me. And I feel like you're on the same vibe. Like you're going to do this and that's just how it is. You know what I mean? And I love that. I love seeing people like that. So you should be proud of yourself, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks.
So, yeah. So we showed Earthbound. We talked about it a little bit. It's in demand. I put it in the chat. Let's get back to that. Where did that Nosferatu go? Do you have that art still here or did I lose it?
I think I have to share, I think, or no, it's here, but
yeah, when I looked at it, that looks like your email or something. I'm not going to put that on the screen.
yeah.
I can't read it, but I could see all kinds of little folders and icons. I'm not going to dox you. So
hold on, let me see how I go. How do I do this? It's like,
if you can't, I can. You could send me a link in our private chat, and I can bring things up because I have 2 monitors. I don't know if you have 2 monitors, but let me jump over here. Well, I went to the Nosferatu Indiegogo, and there's no art there. There's nothing I can show people.
I have a lot of stuff I can share, but I just want to make sure I find it. Here it is.
Okay, I'll check on the chat.
Oh, yeah, here. Let's look at you can put this up, maybe. This is the...
Okay, what do we got?
I have to share with audio, so I'm going to come back.
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. This is a free show, though, so you can't complain.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you guys coming in, checking out Narwhal's work and all that. And let me see. Add to stream. I'll make it full screen. And do we have audio?
Yeah, I think so. So I hope it's smooth from everyone's end, but I'll hit play here. Is it kind of janky or is it smooth?
Looks fun to me.
Cool.
Oh,
So that's the like trailer for the campaign, I think.
as the youngsters say, creepy AF.
Yeah, yeah.
I love it, dude. That's fantastic. I have to admit something though. I've never seen that movie.
Oh
I,
well, so the,
I
the thing is, the silent film, it might be like one of the best silent films, or it probably is, but it's still a silent film. It's not for everyone, but it's pretty good. And then it got remade in the 70s by Werner Herzog. That
Uh-huh.
version is really good too, but it's also kind of slow. So I don't know. But that's one thing that's about the book is the book, even though it might be like slow, like the story, like it's 66 pages. You read it in a half hour and you get the whole download of the cool creepiness of the story. So that I didn't plan it this way, but it kind of works well as a comic because it'll people will like the comic that would not like the movies because they would say the movies are boring. The comic is not boring.
Okay. Yeah, definitely not. I did not like that guy coming down the hall. Ugh.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Spooky.
That was that
Jeez. Because
shot.
I barely saw him. It's
Yeah,
like there
you
was
you like
nothing there, and
register
then he
him
was
like
there.
later. Yeah, that's
Ew.
just some like filmmaking animation stuff. I mess around in Blender. Do you know that
Okay.
program?
I've
It's like
heard of those, but I don't use any of those. I'm a Photoshop ninja. I can do HTML, I can do video stuff, but I don't know anything about Blender. But I think I'm gonna have to dip my toe into that. We got the best chat. I love Comicscape fans. Look at this comment right here. After my inspiring speech, he says, "Thanks for inspiring." Dearman says, "Thanks for inspiring me. One day I'm gonna get that deli job." Oh, amazing. Oh, SDA with some useful information for anyone that wants to check it out. Both movies are on YouTube.
yeah.
So it looks
Oh,
like the Werner Herzog and the old 19 teens one are both there. So
yeah. So real quick on my channel, which is Narwhal Books, if everyone should subscribe there too.
I'll grab the
Is
link.
I have a playlist, and on YouTube you can make playlists that aren't your own videos. So I have a playlist that is just like called Movies Narwhal Likes on YouTube, and both those are on it. And then like there's like movies I didn't know they're on YouTube. I'm like, what? This is on YouTube? You can't find them anywhere else. But like there's Peter Jackson's first 3 movies are free on YouTube. That's like Bad Taste, Dead Alive, and Meet the Feebles. And like those are all amazing movies. And Nosferatu movies are good. The original Dawn of the Dead is free on YouTube. And
Right.
my list now, because I add them partially is just movies I want to check out that I haven't even watched yet. So there's like 100 movies on it. But there's some like classics that I didn't know YouTube has these like buried free movies that they've a lot of them they've had weird, like no one knows who owns the rights. So they're just free on YouTube. And then they feel more fun to discover than like Netflix. Like I'm kind of over Netflix, and I just like
Netflix.
I look
I
for
don't want to go
stuff on
negative here
YouTube.
because we're having fun, but holy woke garbage, Batman.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
We should join the chorus of every other YouTuber in the universe and just say the Amazon Lord of the Rings. Of all the shows on Amazon Prime, it's definitely one of them. I'll say that.
Yeah. Yeah. The people are passing around the J.R.R. Tolkien quote. It's so perfect, but he says like evil cannot create anything. It can only like destroy or retard what's
I
already
think
been made by
retard is a
good.
very good word for all of this.
Yeah, it's been made by good people or something like that.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I don't want to go down the Lord of the Rings path. That's woof.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, that's the Batman song. No, 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 no. Put the link to your featured YouTube list. I couldn't find narwhalbooks.com. Did I have it wrong?
On YouTube?
Oh, I thought it was a website, narwhalbooks.com. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, it's not, I don't have
Oh,
the domain. It's
okay.
just on YouTube.
Okay. Thank you for putting that playlist in there. Okay, so Nosferatu, can you bring that image back up of the guy just taking the chomp out of her neck? Because someone wanted
Yeah,
to see that, and we only added up for a second. And
yeah.
so you said you watched this movie and then broke it down by thumbnail. Let's dig into that a little bit. We don't want to get too granular, but if you could tell me in a simple way, how did you think about it? How did this let me see if I can add this. Let's see what pops up when I do this. Okay. How did
Yeah.
you think about it when you watched the movie? How did you know what to pick, what to throw away, what to use? What inspired you?
Yeah, I remember sometimes I would get inspired because I don't know all the research even of like the era and what like the decor looked like and stuff, but the movie would have it all there. So sometimes I would just kind of copy what was on the movie,
I
and
see.
then sometimes I just kind of get to pick my own camera angle of how I might shoot it or whatever. And I think they're like this. I'm pretty sure there's a shot pretty close to this. I think in almost like both movies. But I changed. There's always there all throughout it. There's little things I changed, and that's kind of part of the fun. I realized I built a staircase like last winter, and building a staircase, there's like 4 or 5 little decisions you can make, and it makes it the math. It's factorial. So if there's 2 decisions 5 times, that means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2.
Oh,
It means the possibilities of staircases you can make is like 200 or something just off these 5 decisions. And that's kind of like what adapting Nosferatu is like there's still a ton of creativity that for me that felt really good, even though I'm kind of just adapting it. But here, like I have her naked, you could see her naked body. I think in the movies, neither movie has that. And this is like tasteful nudity, I guess you might say.
sure. Yeah. I
But
agree.
but
So I
yeah,
think the composition here and the values, obviously there's no color, so there's just value and composition. It's fantastic.
thanks.
I really love that. I love that classic triangle inside the golden ratio there, and the soft, like that horrible. You could see the texture of the curtains with the moonlight hitting them. You know what I mean? That slight wiggle in the frames from the window and stuff. It is fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah, I was just looking at it and I'm like, my instinct sometimes it would be like, oh, make the background white, the higher contrast or whatever. But it's like sometimes lower contrast can look kind of cool and a little more moody. So that
Yeah, it definitely makes it claustrophobic and scary. And oh god, his face
this
is
is like
terrible.
uncolored, but just some lines. This whole folder is filled with like just some stuff. Let me see if there's
Okay.
anything to share.
Oh,
There's
you had
like,
a color sample there. You were just goofing with color, huh?
I think that was a flat because I
Oh,
sent it away
okay.
to get flatted and then I just make it
Sure.
black and white.
Right. No, I do a black and white comic for a guy that has the rights to Bruce Lee's stuff. I'm doing a lot of Bruce Lee independent comics, and my flatter sends them back in color, and I just shift it over to gray. So I get what you're doing there.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
fantastic.
and I think there was one part that I was excited about to adapt this that I kind of wanted to add to it, and it was like an idea that's not really in either movie, but the idea is that Nosferatu, he's like basically like an immortal, he's super old, and he hasn't seen the sun, and so my idea was that he actually can't even remember the concept of the sun anymore. All he knows is something's over there, and if it's bad. Like I don't know what it is, but if I ever see it, I might die. But he can see the moon, and the moon reflects the sun's light, and so it's
Sure.
kind of like this celestial thing where like the moon is this reminder of like something that he kind of remembers, but not really. And so that's kind of like playing with memory, and he has an emotional flashback at the end before he dies. I added that, and yeah, so I don't know.
That's awesome. Tasteful nudity.
Yeah,
As SW, I don't know what that name is, but thank you for the funny comment. Yeah, I think that's fantastic to have him have that add a little pathos to Mr. Nosferatu there at the end. Where he
yeah,
has that memory. That's fantastic, man.
yeah.
So
And I
go
don't
ahead.
know if like some people might hate that decision. I'm not sure because he's kind of one of the takes on his character is that he's supposed to be pretty darn evil, and that's it. He's just like evil, and then she kills him. And like in my version, he's at the end, he's like a little bit, not he's evil, but he's not like you feel a little sorry for him or whatever. And
Sure.
so whatever, that's kind of my take on it, I guess.
Okay. Man, that's fantastic. So, all right. So, is the art for this one mostly done? Are you still in production on it?
This one's completely done.
Okay.
So it'll go kind of fast. I might have it open for a while, like 2 months and a 1 month in demand,
Okay.
and then I'll probably just fulfill it. So it'll fulfill in like May or June, I
Okay.
think.
And you're going to launch on your channel, right?
Yeah, a
Okay.
launch. Yeah, like next Thursday. But
Okay,
I'll be
cool.
in touch. I want to come on one more time if
Oh,
possible. And I'll have
absolutely.
you on my channel when you launch yours too, for sure.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, definitely. You can come on here a few times during the 2 months you have it up or whatever. That'd be fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been
So,
good. It's good talking to you. Not that we're wrapping up necessarily, but I'm just saying.
no, I gotta go. All right, see you later. Bye.
Yeah.
Just hit end. You know, the first few times I ended the broadcast on StreamYard, I just hit leave studio, and then it was just on for like an hour, and I didn't even know my YouTube was just going. And so I boomered it a few times. So
Yeah.
let's see. Good to see now. Oh, and here's someone speaking on what you were saying about giving Nosferatu a little bit of pathos there. They're saying the best villains are relatable. I think there's some merit to that. Absolutely. So yeah. I think this person wants you to go on EBS and show. Yeah, Ethan loves you. Yeah, definitely go there. He's got a lot of people, and I mean, it's great exposure. I think you've earned it. You know, you're pulling your weight and everything. So
Yeah, I agree. I love Ethan and all he's done for everyone. He truly
it
is
is
a
really
beacon.
amazing. And for
Yeah.
any of you out there, if you got a kind word or a prayer for Ethan's family, they lost the father-in-law yesterday. It's public, so I'm not spreading news that isn't spreading.
I
But
heard that. It's very sad.
apparently his wife's father-in-law died. So if you pray. If you don't, tell him, hey, I'm sorry or whatever. If you feel like it. So I texted him already and contacted him. So that's really sad. And he has done just so much for this movement. And one thing I like about him that I want to get more in my personality is being a happy warrior, because I know how to be kind and jovial like I'm being now, and then I know how to be like like rage. I want to find that middle where he's
Oh, yeah.
fighting but he's laughing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, good point. Yeah, you like not everyone suits comics or YouTube well. People have tried it and then they quit like a month later, and you're like, yeah, I knew they were never gonna make it because their personality just doesn't fit. And yours totally fits. Like you're great. Also, singing
Oh, thank
to
you.
me was so funny. I'm glad you did that.
Well, like I said, I don't know you very well, but I know you're like, I'm not kissing your ass. You're fun though. There's just something about you that's really fun. And I don't have stage fright. Like my daughter does stand-up comedy. I did comedy and improv with her. I don't have stage fright whatsoever. So even though I'm not a singer, I thought, hey, I'll just sing. Why not? It's crazy.
Yeah,
So,
cool.
because I think our first goal here, like we want to touch people, we want to touch their hearts. I want to inspire people. I know you do too, because art is such a beautiful way to let people know they're alive and they matter and that despair is not going to win. You know what I mean? We're going to make it. I love doing that with my art. But one of the also goals that is less serious is just to entertain. So if I could just sing a silly Star Wars song, whatever, that's just funny to me. So thank you, though. Thank you for appreciating my effort. It took me all of 40 seconds to write. So
Nice.
let me get a drink here. Sorry. Oh, talking a lot.
Yeah. I'm just catching up with the chat. Yeah, thanks, chat, for being here. It's fun hanging out with you guys.
Right. Oh, Narwhal should be a regular on the Jack Show. They're a little naughty on that show. A little bit.
Yeah. I've been on, I don't know if I've been on like maybe 5 times over the last
Yeah.
couple of years, and they have me on once in a while. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. I did a stream the other night with Malin and Mandy and Shane, who wasn't drunk yet, but he was getting there, and someone else, and it was PG-13/R.
That one might have been a legendary one that I think I heard about the next day.
Yeah, it was going down some interesting roads. So oh, here it is. This is a great compliment. He's the Jack Show what Alec Baldwin used to be to SNL. So I hope you have better trigger discipline than poor Mr. Baldwin, because that was very unfortunate.
Yeah.
That was very terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you to get a little more serious again. Earthbound looks fantastic. I can play the trailer again later. Nosferatu looks amazing. Do you know what you're doing next? Do you have any idea?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So kind of 2 things. One is the book after Nosferatu is going to be a collection of short stories. And I think I actually have, if you add up all the short stories, which includes, I'm writing some, I'm not drawing everything. I'm hiring some artists to help me with some of it. And it's like 200 pages of content for over the past like 4 years or something.
Okay. And are you the author of all these stories, or is it like Nosferatu where you're borrowing from some old stuff that no longer has copyright, or is it?
Yeah, for these, I think I write them all except one is written by Von Klaus. I just kind of commissioned him to write like an idea. I was like, write a cave story idea about a hot cave woman, and he's like, he turned in this script called Cave Slave, and it's like
Nice.
really sweet.
Yeah, I haven't read his stuff, but I heard he's fantastic, and he just launched Terror in the Trenches yesterday, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
He and we kind of have a nice bond because there's a few others like in our little camp, but we're these CG dudes that truly kind of came from nowhere, and now we're doing
Right.
pretty good in CG, and we're all like circa 2017, even 16. We're kind of around when CG hasn't even formed yet,
Right.
and yeah, like so he is been along the whole path from the beginning. So it's cool, and he's like writing for a lot of people now too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let me remark on that, the you and these other guys that didn't come from the mainstream. Now, I have an advantage, Ethan, Aaron, all the CG kings. We have the advantage of coming from the mainstream, and we earned that advantage by breaking into the mainstream. But I think it's so impressive that people like you, Michael Bancroft, this Von Klaus is his name, Klaus.
Yeah,
Um,
Von
these,
Klaus. Yeah,
these guys, they don't have issues of Thor, issues of Green Lantern and Superman like I do, and yet here they are. And I'm telling you, that boldness, it's very inspiring. To just
yeah,
watch people say, "I'm out here and I'm gonna do it. I don't care. I'm gonna compete," and I absolutely love that.
yeah. The latest too that's kind of fun is Dynamite Comics. They have they have a Black Terror comic, so because
Right.
that was public domain, or it is. So Vaughn has his Black Terror comic. His Black Terror comic is about to pass theirs for.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
We're a threat to them completely. I have some stuff coming with Truth, Justice, American Way in the media that is going to be hopefully very big. I don't want to oversell things, but I have some things coming. Because I was talking to some people on Facebook today, random people I don't know, and they asked me the main hero of our book, American Way, the guy who's covered in American Steel. It's like, what makes this guy unique? And if you'll indulge me here for a minute, this is what I told them, and then I'll explain why I said this. Because I felt like he was challenging me. He's like, well, what makes this character unique? And I said, his heart. He has great power, but he has restraint, kindness, and fearlessness. Because of his background with his family and his culture, he will never give in, not to evildoers and not to his own fear. He's the man we all hope we can be, flawed but fighting to be righteous, brave and just. He gives people true hope that no matter how hard their heart has been broken, there's a way back. And when I left, the guy congratulated me on that answer, and I told him, when I left a cushy job at DC in the mainstream, I'm not lying. I made 6 figures a year pretty easily before COVID, coloring comics. All you got to color is about 30 comics to make that much money in a year. When I left that kind of easy money to pay my mortgage and all this stuff, I meant it. I don't want to do bullshit with them and ruin our culture, ruin this traditional comic art. We didn't create this art form. You know what I mean? We didn't set this table. We just walked into an art form that was already established. How dare we ruin it? You know what I mean? So I couldn't live with that. DC Comics coming up to me going, hey, how do you feel about destroying Western culture with us? And I said to myself,
kind of being
I said, no, not for me. So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, well, then you're one of the people who noticed it was happening and like did something about it. And that's awesome in its own right. That's, I think, kind of heroic. Like, we have cops in Canada aren't doing that yet with the truckers. It's like people need to see what's going on or whatever and make a change if they're in the middle of it, if you find yourself in the middle of it. But
yeah,
cool. And even hearing about that character too, that sounds awesome. And it sounds like it's getting away from the postmodern deconstructionist stuff that everyone's sick of.
He's not going to be like a conflicted hero who's also a cocaine addict and has a girlfriend that's a prostitute, and that by the time you're finished describing Deadpool, you're like, he's a hero?
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck is that a hero? That's an awful person just fighting a worse person. What's the lesson here?
Yeah.
So a tagline that I'm kind of coming up for our book is heroes you can believe in. You know what I mean?
Cool.
And I think the name of my first story, because we're going to do many volumes of this, is Beyond Belief. This book is about being brokenhearted and not giving into despair. So the stuff that happens, I'm not going to spoil it. Just heartbreaking, dark, abandoned. It looks like there's no way out. And these heroes, they have to draw on their inner strength, not their laser beam eyes or whatever. That's all fun, but they have to go deep into their humanity and their tradition and their past. I really want to comment on that. how the past matters, how our parents matter, our grandparents matter, all the people that died for us matter. And we can't just be postmodern and act like history started this morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I agree. That's cool. Then, and there is like a little meta application to that of like, yeah, this is a long tradition. The comics are a long tradition, and
mhm.
you got to honor that too. Honor these characters and things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments when I worked for Wildstorm, before I was a freelancer for DC, I worked in-house for Wildstorm here in San Diego. That's why I live here. Um, Jerry Robinson, the creator of the Joker, was a guest at the San Diego Comic-Con. And when I worked in studio for Wildstorm, they would have me work at the San Diego Comic-Con DC Comics booth, handing out stickers and posters. I don't know why. But I'm a big guy. I'm 6'4", I'm strong, I'm athletic. So they always have me do big guy stuff too. And they're like, hey, Jerry Robinson is like 90. He needs you to push his wheelchair across the convention hall. So I was pushing his wheelchair, and I love my grandfather, World War II vet, and he's since passed away a long time ago in the 90s. And Jerry reminded me of my grandfather, this little old man, and I'm helping him. So I stopped pushing him after like a minute or two, and I bent down to his face, and I just told him, thank you. Thank you for creating this business. Thank you for making up these characters. So, and the words I said to him, so I could just walk in here and have a job.
Yeah.
You know, so I said it then, and I mean it now. That was 12, 13, 14 years ago. So this is nothing new for me to walk out of this Superman book when they started this woke garbage. So,
Yeah, that's cool. The
yeah.
seeds are there.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just, you know, I don't know you that well, but I feel like I know you a little better. And I'm proud of what you've done here. Just to be bold and strike out and try this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's working for you because you're being honest. Let me ask you about that, because I told you before we went on the air, the thing I really admired about you, and I want to add more to myself, is to just be bold with my art. Like, I want to draw this way, not the way the mainstream expects. I want to write this thing, not the story that will get me applause because I wrote the correct story. Where does that come from in you? That I'm just going to do what Narwhal thinks is best artistically. Where does that come from?
Yeah. So some of that's just like my style, which developed when I was 32, when I started Earthbound. Right around that time, I actually did get one job in, not exactly the mainstream, but it was like a regular comic job.
Uh-huh.
And it was illustrating this book called Machete Squad, where this journalist had lined up with a medic who worked who had served in Afghanistan, and he had written a memoir. They're adapting his memoir to a comic. So I illustrated that. But that was like, yeah, my first job. So they came to me, like, we had an artist, our artist fell through. I had met the writer at the Tacoma Comic Convention a few weeks prior, and he took my card and he's like, do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, can you draw, color, and letter 120 pages in a year? And I was like, yes. But I didn't.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
You've never done it before, but you bet on you. I love that.
Yeah. So then a lot of that was like kind of sweat and bullets, just figuring it out. And a lot of my style comes from like shortcuts to be able to get everything and have it all.
Okay.
I know, for example, one is like, I had this like tangible thought where I was like, all right, I'm not going to render a bunch of stuff with my ink lines because I'm going to do a little more of the rendering, quote unquote, in the coloring phase. So I don't want to do both. So I'll save time. I'll just have my lines. I like how animation looks anyway. So I'm going to have like the lines be pretty simple.
Right.
And then have the color be
But
the
see,
main.
that's what I'm saying, that fearlessness, and I don't mean to kiss your ass, but the industry expects you to ink that. And you're like, you know what? No, I like the way animation cell shading looks. I'm going to do that. Like, I don't really care what they like. I like this, and it's good, and I know how to do it. That's awesome. That's a great place to be as an artist.
Yeah, that's cool.
Being sincere.
I've noticed this talking to some other artists where this is like a human psychology thing, but sometimes like for example, with one of the things I could actually improve on is how I draw hands. But now with my hands, I do them gestural. And so if you look at one on a panel, it might be like a blob. But if you look at the panel, you can feel the gesture of the hand.
Right.
So it's like, it kind of works. But still, there's like, I could definitely improve in my hands. But like, so people will be like, oh, the hands look weird. Why did you win a whole book drawing hands like that? And I'm like, I didn't even notice. Like, I didn't even see that. Like, so I can't even make a judgment call of whether or not it's a good idea because I didn't even notice it. It's like what we notice or whatever. But yeah.
That's funny. Well, speaking of you're describing your art, let me show that video about Earthbound one more time, okay? Since
Sure.
you were describing your art, let's show the audience, because people come in late, people come and go on these streams. Let's show that real quick so people can get a feel for this art that we're describing.
Special? Is he a genius? Is he a savant? Is he like, what's up? Like, this book, nobody else makes stuff like this. I've never read a comic like this ever.
I read it and I got done and I was like, oh man, that went by quick.
It's really immersive. It really pulls you into the world.
Totally forgot how many pages it is. I think it's like 136. I read this in one sitting.
This book should be so critically acclaimed. It's really that good.
20 years ago, this would have come out from one of the big publishers, and it would have been celebrated everywhere as this groundbreaking achievement in comic book storytelling.
To me, this is the biggest discovery of crowdfunding.
All right. Well, I put the link for both Nosferatu and Earthbound 1 and 2 in the chat. So please check that out, guys. And again, if you can't afford it right now, maybe you get it later. But the least you could do, would it be crazy for me to ask you to just send the link out to your social media? That costs you nothing, and we would just really appreciate it. You're the best fans in the world. It's so great to interact with you guys. Is there anything else you want to get to, or should we call it a show? I think that was good. I think if we just go on and on, we might repeat ourselves, but what else do you want to say?
Nothing really, other than I want to
Good night. All right, bye.
I just want to like hang out a little more and talk like
sure
we're
then.
talking business, but let's talk like movies sometime. Let's talk comics that we like and that
Oh,
kind
we
of
can
stuff.
keep going. I thought you were done, man. I'm sorry.
Oh no, well, I mean we can go a little bit longer, I guess. Did you stream a few nights ago with Kelsey Shannon?
I did. That was a delight. And
Awesome.
then David Williams came on as Black Man. And for those of you that don't know, he's actually black. So so his alter ego was Black Man, and it was very funny. So because David is the illustrator of Truth, Justice, American Way, the book I have launching on President's Day. Coincidence? You decide. So
Nice.
no, that's intentional on my part, because DC Comics really pissed me off with getting rid of Truth, Justice, and American Way. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show you how it's done, where we don't hate our country. You know,
That's cool. When is that specifically? So is that President's Day? Is it like 2 weeks from now, or when?
That is Monday, February 21st.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's coming up. Yeah, there'll be a lot that. I mean, it'll be fun. You'll be promoting. I'll be promoting.
Yeah.
We'll probably be on Ethan's together.
Yeah, I will have to be more. I'll have to continue to try and be newsworthy and get back in the national media. And I'm going to be on TV again to promote this book right after I launch it. And I'm going to be on, I think, 2 channels, if not 3. I know 2 for sure, national channels. But let me show you this. This is why I want to get a little more notoriety. I don't want to be remembered forever for this quote. Superman Colors quits over comics' embrace of wokeness. I'm tired of this shit. I don't want them to write that on my grave. I would like to be known for some other witticisms. But that went around the globe for about 72 hours. So
I remember when that happened. That was cool. And your full appearance is good, and you have the skill set for that too. So that's good when that happens. But
okay, yeah. So I'm hoping to get just a different quote, kind of wash that one away. I don't need that to be what I'm known for forever. But I meant it when I said it. I was tired of that shit. So is there, speaking of the mainstream, is there anything you wonder about working in it or whatever that you would ever want to ask me, or I don't know, while we're still here?
Yeah, I do like, I miss like what I almost romanticize of like, I heard about it a little bit from Kelsey of like, conventions, everyone's in a hotel, you're getting drinks, you're like all hanging out.
That was fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, that's what we got to get with CG though. We got to do that.
We will. All of the COVID lockdowns are like ending. Like Nevada is getting rid of masks, and they were one of the worst mask up places and all that. So you see the dominoes falling everywhere, and I can't wait for like the Fans Fest. Ethan said he wants to do it in Orlando, and where you're on the West Coast like me, right? I'm in San Diego. You're I don't know. Was it Portland?
I'm Washington, so I'd be kitty corner, but I don't mind. I'll fly down.
Yeah,
there.
no, I went to the South for the first time ever in my life this November. My wife and I had our 25th wedding anniversary, and we went to Disney World. We did the cliche, and it was just magnificent. We did
Cool.
not fly. We canceled our flights because that's when all the pilots were like, the pilots were calling in sick to work or whatever. Remember, there were thousands of cancellations. Do you remember that? Like in November and October, all the canceled flights.
I do, yeah.
I was worried about our vacation getting ruined by getting stuck in an airport. So we rented a car. We took like a 2-week vacation, and it was a trip of a lifetime for my wife and I. And I thought the South was delightful. Have you ever been there?
Well, yeah, I lived in Texas for a little bit, and which doesn't exactly count. And then I did one trip to New Orleans, and that was really awesome. It was for a bachelor party. So it was only a few nights really, but it was
Okay.
New Orleans was really cool.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go to New Orleans because I love that it's such a cultural place. They got Mardi Gras, they got jazz, they got all these great things. And we stopped and stayed in New Orleans and went to the French Quarter, and I ate a beignet at Café Du Monde, that famous French little coffee house that sells the little donuts and everything.
Yeah,
And
I might have done that too. We were doing a lot of that food-y kind of stuff, and it was so good. But I remember we had in New Orleans, you could get po' boy sandwiches like everywhere. So that's what I'd always get. And a lot of times they'd be so soggy in this beautiful juice, but it'd just be the soggiest sandwich ever. And we just called them soup sandwiches. So we're like,
Oh,
yeah,
that
get another
sounds
soup sandwich down in New Orleans.
Yeah, any of you out there in the South, I don't know how you do it, how you don't all weigh 7,000 pounds. The food is amazing. And I don't know, the culture of the food down there was just amazing. I remember when we first left Beaumont, Texas, and crossed the border in Louisiana, there just started being billboards on the side of the roads for these things called boudin balls. And it was like boudin balls and crackling. And then the other business is competing, boudin balls and crackling. I'm like, okay, I got to buy this boudin ball. And it's basically jambalaya rolled into a ball, covered in chicken fried steak like breading, and deep fried. So it's a deep fried ball of rice and sausage and spice. It's just amazing.
It sounds so good.
I bought a bag, dude. Don't tell him. I bought a bag of fried chicken skin. It wasn't fried chicken, it was the skin.
Yeah.
We just pulled over. It's like swamps and trees, and there's like Jimbo's, boudin balls, and crackling. And we got a bag of pork crackling and chicken. I didn't know it was legal to sell chicken skin like that. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
So when you were down in New Orleans, or New Orleans as we call it, just kidding, I've been there once. Were you there for a while? Did you get out into the weird swampy, like it's beautiful out there, all that stuff?
No, yeah, but I was in Florida for like a week a while back, a long time ago. But then we did go like into the swamp and stuff, and it was really cool. But in Florida, I remember they have something called banana spiders, and they're huge, and their web is like a fishing line. Like it could like cut you if you walk into it. I feel like, and it's like they're everywhere, so you can't really walk through the woods. You got to just
Where
stay
was
on the
this?
path. In Florida. And these banana spiders, they're about this big. If you take both hands and stick them out like that, their body is like, I don't know, like just
I'm a very big, strong man. I told you I'm 6'4", 7-foot wingspan. My max bench press is literally like 340 pounds. I hate spiders. I'm not going to ever admit to being afraid of them. I just hate them.
Yeah, me
Some
too.
people would say I'm afraid of spiders. I will deny that forever.
Yeah.
But I don't like that story you told.
I hate them too. I have like, well, not so much anymore, but I'll have like nightmares about like spiders everywhere. Like,
I was in bed talking to my wife. Then I'm on my cell phone, right, laying on my back, and I'm watching something on my phone like this in the dark. I see a spider just go right through the light of my phone. Fly out of bed, phone goes flying, turn on the lights. You never find them either. That's the worst feeling when you don't find them.
Then they're out there somewhere, and you're like, God, he's just
rubbing his little fucking hands together, just looking at you.
I know. I've had times where I like try to kill him and they get away. I'm like, he's gonna come back for revenge now. I didn't get him.
Oh, the night I got to Disney World, we got to Orlando, then we went to Disney World the next day. There was a gecko in our condo that we rented. Oh. And I caught him in like a glass, and then he fell under the bed and ran away. So he must have been there the whole time. So
yeah.
But those don't seem dangerous, So.
Yeah, that's like cuter, I guess. I think it's Gila monsters are poisonous. I don't know what else.
Yeah, those are out here in the desert, so
yeah.
Terrible. Yeah, so this is the nature segment of the show. Narwhal and I were showing off all of our knowledge of zoology.
Discovery Channel. Yeah.
Right. I've only been in your neck of the woods once. When I was in college, I worked at Home Depot, and it used to be a good company. It was always like top 5 America's most admired companies, and they treated us employees amazing, good salaries, and they would fly everyone who worked in the hardware and tool department to Seattle once a year. At least the West Coast workers. We'd all go up there and hotel, food, everything, airfare, and we would go to like Comic-Con, but it was for tools. And we would test all the tools and talk to all the reps and learn how to use all the tools so we could then sell them in the Christmas season. So we would do this in September. And I thought Seattle was great. It did rain every day. And it is where I cut my fingernail, the tip of it off, and it's just a little crooked to this day. I was hung over using a miter saw, and a piece of wood flew out of it and smashed my finger and fucked up my fingernail. So I did go to your city once and left a piece of my fingernail in Seattle. So
nice. Well, if I ever see it, I'll pick it up and mail it to you.
You're gonna bring it to me in a bag. Oh goodness. David Williams is here. He is the illustrator of Truth, Justice, American Way.
Oh, Dave Williams, what's up, man?
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. The art's amazing. So, and the coloring is so good too. But
yeah, I think the coloring is the strongest part. I think the drawings are solid, but the coloring really lifts it up. I got to say that because Dave's not on camera, so he can't defend himself. So let's bring Dave up again. Dave hates Mad Max Fury Road. Now, you and I didn't plan this out before the show. Please tell Dave he's wrong.
Yeah, I love that movie. I'd be curious to hear what his take is on it, though. I mean, it's probably interesting.
We argued about it with Kelsey. He just was mad that it didn't have a story.
Oh yeah. It's I guess you could say that. I have a thing I say about that movie is I call it a gag movie. And there's some other examples of gag movies are Evil Dead 2, Gremlins 2. They're kind of rare, but it's where it doesn't mean it's jokes, but it's like ideas. So it's like how many, like Fury Road, they say it was storyboarded. It wasn't even scripted really. It was just storyboarded. And that's like kind of same with Evil Dead 2 and Gremlins 2. It's just like how many ideas can you pack into one movie? And like it doesn't have to be funny, but it has to be like a little light bulb kind of thing for the audience whenever
I see what you're saying. It's just like a bunch of story beats and then they filmed it.
Yeah. Like in Fury Road, one of the examples is there's the whole sequence where they're drinking gasoline and then spitting it into the engine on the hood of the cars. That's a gag, even though it's not funny, but that's like a gag. So then there's like hundreds of them in the movie.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, they're like, oh, and in this world, this would happen, and in this world, this would happen. I see what you're saying about that.
Yeah, it's kind of just how much can you pack in there? And
I just felt that movie was so exhilarating and crazy. Like I saw it 4 times in theaters because I couldn't get enough, and every time it was over, I was just like, it was just like, oh man, that was awesome.
Yeah, I want to rewatch it now. Just talking about it.
That's right. Yeah, I'm gonna make David Williams watch it. Let's see. Oh, he's got a question. Ask kind Sir Narwhal, what does he know about Truth, Justice, American Way? What do you know about our comic? I'm not sure why Dave is asking this. He's putting you on the spot here. But
yeah,
okay.
I just know what you've told me, that it's launching President's Day. It's about, I've seen the characters from the art, the 3 characters, but you mentioned the one is the kind of hero, true hero, not postmodern hero.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, none of them are postmodern. These are classic heroes, just the way, it was until woke infected everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let me bring, I'm going to pop this on the screen really quick. These are David Williams illustrations and I colored them up. Let me add that to what we're doing here. Yeah. So this is Truth. And these are their names, by the way, not like just their powers or something. Like you got Truth here. And you got Justice. People seem to love Justice, but I love this Truth right here. Hold on. I think she's gorgeous. You know what I mean? I think it's really well done. And then Justice. I really like this character a lot. And I think a lot of fans have really responded to this character.
Yeah.
And then American Way. You know what I mean? So
that's cool too. Like I did pick that up that it's the 3 characters is Truth, Justice, and American Way. That's awesome. David Williams says Sad Max Furiosa's Chode. That's a pretty good, like actually that makes me rethink liking it. I'm like, oh, he roasted it pretty good.
It is a good roast. It is a good roast. And I could do with taking Furiosa out of that movie some. But, as woke as they could have made that movie with her, like female power, whatever, they didn't go as far as they could have. Of course, it was
Yeah.
like 6-7 years ago.
Yeah. It's like the beginning. If you look now, it's almost so cringy. Like everything is making women super more powerful than man, whatever. Even the new like Lord of the Rings or whatever. But
Ooh.
that was the beginning, and they were still making like the movie itself is good, even though it's got a female character or whatever.
Oh, we talked about this before the show, and I want you to expand on this because you seemed enthusiastic about it. People have been telling me the raid, because everyone knows I love action movies. I just freaking love them. I love westerns. I love all the 70s and 80s schlock and the 90s schlock. If it's action, I'm there. Somehow I missed the raid. Don't know how. I am embarrassed. I watched the raid last night, like at midnight, and it had me wide awake. Oh my God, that was good. Please talk about the raid because you said you loved it. I'm going to watch part 2 tonight, by the way. I'm excited to go watch that. So
yeah. Let me ask you too. There's a couple other like little classics with raid that I just remember from growing up from people telling them to me, but there's one called District B13. Have you heard of that one?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Okay, that's another kind of rare one. But
is that
once
the
you
French
see it,
one?
Yeah.
With all the parkour?
It's all parkour. That one's really awesome. Once you see it, you'll be like, oh, how did I not see this sooner? Like the raid, you'll feel kind of similar, I bet. And I don't know, maybe the raid's a little better, but yeah, the raid is so good. And the raid, it could almost be like, Mad Max Fury Road. It's like the story is just this 2-hour long action scene of the strategy of what's happening in the raid, and it's kind of awesome. It's super like kind of hardcore too. I remember the action just feeling so awesome.
Brutal.
Yeah, so brutal.
One thing I was thinking as a comic book artist while I was watching it, how in the world do they storyboard something like that? I don't think they fully storyboarded, obviously, the fight scenes. They just like, okay, they're here, and then they go here, and then they make up the fight scene while they're acting, I guess, with the stunt coordinators or the fight coordinators. But I was like, just the geometry of the building, and I don't want to give too much away if you haven't seen it because it's an amazing movie. But do you think about things like that when you watch movies like that, like how you would do it or storyboard it, or what do you think of that?
Yeah, like I definitely like action where it has like kind of its own story to it, where it would be like storyboarded. And they kind of do that. You're right. I think they break it down where they're not thinking of every detail, or at a certain point, it just becomes the coordinators for the martial arts just picking cool. That's like the Matrix, like it's just awesome martial arts. It's not necessarily like he's behind here, so we can't go there. So they shoot, so he's undercover, then he moves. Like I like kind of tracking even that kind of stuff in action scenes. And like Heat does that. A lot of more modern ones might do it too.
Yeah.
But I try and do that in some of when my action comes up, I try and have, instead of it just being like, especially in comics, I guess, like you could do an action scene where it's punch, punch, kick, kick, punch, punch, kick, kick, punch, punch, kick, kick, then it's over. And I guess like, how do they, because there's manga, they'll do it where it's like somehow out of one action scene, it's like 200 pages. And I'm like, how do they do that? Like they're really making a story
and
out
it's
of it.
still entertaining. There's some stuff. Have you ever read the original Akira? Just those phone book manga. They're like 400 pages and there's like 8 of them.
Yeah.
Have you ever read those?
No, just a little bit of the beginning and looked at the art. It's amazing art.
Go get them. They're not much money. You can get them on Amazon. They're just black and white, big phone books. That in writing, one of the things that's important to me is verisimilitude. That means this universe agrees with itself. You know what I mean? You could see the harmony. You could see the rhythm to it. You could see the logic to it. I've never seen a comic book that had more verisimilitude in the characters, in the designs, in the dialogue, in the plot, in the subplot. It's like a symphony, Akira, the comic book. The movie from 1988 is a masterpiece. It's the greatest animated movie of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The movie doesn't hold a candle to the manga. It's
okay.
Amazing. And I love the movie. I have like 2 copies of it or 3 copies. I don't know. I have a couple. I have like a limited edition, and I have this. I have the Akira art book. But those mangas, they're like 400 pages. Like you can't believe it. It's so gorgeous. And what you were saying about the fight scene is 200 pages. There's pages of like destruction of cities that just go on, and they're drawing every skyscraper, and it has 300 windows, and there's 15 skyscrapers exploding. And yeah, I don't know how they do stuff like that. That's just amazing.
Yeah, that is cool. I do want to read it. That's cool hearing your passion about that. Was probably one of your favorite comics then, right, Akira?
Oh, I love that. Love that. And you know what? It's funny. The raid came along at the right time because Truth, Justice, American Way. The story is done, the bones of the story, but the script isn't done. I've got the opening act, and David is drawing some of those pages right now. He's working the covers. Oh my God, when you see these covers, it's gonna blow your brains out. But when I watched the raid last night, I said, okay, I'm gonna do my third pass on the plot starting tomorrow. Actually, I already did 2 passes on it and send it to Dave and send it to the inker Gary, and they tell me what they think, and we're tweaking the story. When I saw the raid, I'm like, more of this, more action, because I thought I had a lot, and then they gave me their feedback like more, more. So I'm like, I'm gonna figure out a way to get just like I told Dave this when he's drawing it. I want people to duck when they're reading Truth, Justice, American Way. Like I want
cool.
this book to be out of control action. So because I can do dialogue and characterization really good, I know that I can do that. So but I just want, like, when I watched the raid last night, it's like I want that. I want insanity in this book.
I don't think anyone would ever complain about too much action, almost ever. So yeah.
Right. Let's see real quick. Krypton Jav. Have you watched Ong Bak? I have. It was fantastic martial arts.
Yeah, that one's cool.
Then Sanguine Tales for $5. Thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate you. Follow my Twitter. Because they want to DM me about something. Indulge me while I do that, because if I don't do it now, I'll forget. So go ahead and vamp for the audience, Narwhal.
Yeah, let's do it. Audience, thanks for being here. This stream's for Nosferatu, and we're also promoting Truth, Justice, the American Way in 2 weeks, Nosferatu in 1 week. And yeah, I'm glad to be here talking to Shane, or to Gabe.
No,
I was reading Shane when I said that.
No, I get it.
The chat says Shane is on Jack's show tonight.
Oh. Uh-oh. I think he might get a little tipsy. Right? Did you see that last week?
No, but I just heard about it. And I stream with Mandy usually whenever I'm promoting, and I really like streaming with her too. And her and Shane together, I could just imagine it being pretty awesome.
Yeah, I went on her show. I don't know her, but I know, people like her and this and that. So I went on her show last week, and she's funny. That's a real Southern accent.
Yeah. She's another of the CGers who just kind of came out and did it and did the YouTube thing and just kept doing it. And then she's like getting really successful now. So
yeah, that's, again, all of you guys that were not mainstream guys, the degree of difficulty is a lot higher for you. You know what I mean? I have a whole catalog to stand on. So yeah, Blackest Night, that was me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Star Wars, yeah, that was me. And Gears of War, you name it, I worked on it. The only property I didn't work on that I always want to work on was Ninja Turtles. But I basically worked on everything. If you Ghostbusters, X-Men, not X-Men, no. But like basically everything I was going to work on, I worked on it. So yeah.
Working on X-Men nowadays would not be the same.
No, it is the X-Men. It used to be the X-Men. Now it's the whatever. It's the Trash Men.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
they them men or something.
Okay. Oh, I knew what comics you were into when you were into them early. You said you were into that Dark Knight Returns and all those 86 books. But when you got older and you were going through high school and all that, what were you into? Were you into the Image stuff big when that all blew up? Or what were you into when you were like a high schooler? What was it?
Yeah, I just kind of kept buying graphic novels and reading them. I'm trying to remember what the one that I read that kind of is probably the most formative, the most influential. It was Why the Last Man. I read that all the way through, and that's like the longest comic I've ever read too. And that one was so good. Brian K. Vaughan. I read a lot of his other stuff too. After that, I started following him really closely, and then like people would just kind of say classics, and I'll read them. Like pretty recently, this is not exactly high school even, but in the last like 5 years, I read all of Frank Miller's Daredevil stuff.
Wow.
And it was so good. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't. It was like, I'm pretty sure he did that before Batman. And it's very like, kind of feels Batman-y. It just feels like he's so talented.
He's a master. Even to this day, people say he's like crazy now or whatever. I don't think so. I think he's I think he's like you, on the same vibe. He just does what is the truth to Frank artistically. That's why I admire that so much about you. They're just like, yeah, this is what I feel like doing, and then you do it. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's with him and me, like, because it's the apples to oranges. I'm not even worthy in the same sentence, except that maybe I was thinking the way you've said this a couple of times, but my stuff could almost be described in some ways as like artsy fartsy, but I'm trying really hard to not have it not be artsy fartsy. I'm trying to like deliver the goods and do like good stories, good action, good characters. I'm not trying to like bore people with like pretension, but then it still looks kind of pretentious, and that balance is kind of nice. People like that, I think. Like,
Yeah, I think if you don't read Earthbound and you just look at it, it's like, oh, this guy with his eccentric art style, then you realize like, oh, these are solid characters and this all makes sense.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
then
I
people
think
can
that's
have fun.
you're right though. The balance there is charming,
Yeah, and Frank Miller, he did it. He could draw perfect comics before he kind of started experimenting. Like, because
Right.
Dark Knight Returns, it is like experimental art style, kind of.
Definitely.
Like,
Oh yeah.
it's really cool art, but it's totally experimental, and that's a good point. Yeah,
Yeah, because before he was doing very traditional Marvel DC house style art, much more
yeah.
so at least.
I saw some of his like early Daredevil, and maybe early Spider-Man. He might have drawn a little bit of, and you can't even tell it's him at all. Like it just looks like boring Marvel art or whatever.
I love this comment here. I worked for Midtown Comics for 5 years. Is that in New York or Los Angeles? I don't remember. I think that's New York. Guaranteed, Narwhal's material would have no doubt been celebrated in the vein of Brandon Graham and Jeff Lemire. Narwhal's art has more flow, in my opinion. Yeah, I know Brandon Graham. We became buddies on Instagram, direct messaging each other, and I'm going to have him on the show maybe next week or the week after. But I wanted to bring him on. Do you like Brandon Graham? Do you know who that is? Or
Yeah, and people have compared me to him. Other people, like even your boy Zach mentioned, and I think he's not exact. He's not an SJW. He's like a weird artist, but he's not SJW.
Well, if you look at my social media, if he was an SJW, he would not be friends with me.
Yeah,
Because I'll post shit about Kyle Ritter and I don't apologize for it. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I really like Brandon Graham. We've only spoken by texting, but he seems like a solid dude, and we have some things in common. And I love a guy that's into cheesecake art. You know what I mean? I love the ladies. Who doesn't, right? And he has such good taste for cheesecake artists. I always find them in his Instagram story. He'll post a new artist I never heard of, just doing the sexiest stuff. And it isn't
cool.
porno, because like porno, that's trash to me. It's bad. But you know the difference between cheesecake and porno, obviously.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah. So okay. So you're aware of Brandon Graham and you've been compared to him. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and they've mentioned Jeff Lemire too. He's one that he's not maybe not an SJW, but he hates Comicsgate and he's talked a bunch of trash about it. So he's one that I could like in my like fantasy world like eventually get successful enough where I could like somehow look down on him and make fun of him or something.
He's on your enemies list.
Yeah.
See, what you guys don't know that are watching, if Narwhal just move the camera a little to the wall, you'll see this list with names on it. Some of the names are in red too. That's very intense. So
yeah.
That's funny. I tell my son is not into comic books at all. He's 20. I better get it right. He's a 23-year-old young man. Is that his age? Anyway, and he's just not into this world at all, whatever. He likes what I do. And when I tell him about Comicsgate drama and the fighting and Mark Brooks, he just looks at me like it's the most stupid thing he's ever heard of. And when it's coming out of my mouth, and I'm telling him, like, yeah, this is really cringy. This is a little. So how do you handle that? Let's see, you were never a mainstream guy, but did you get shit on Twitter and everywhere? Did you get attacked? Did you have people abandon you, call you a white supremacist? Did any of that ugliness happen to you when you became more prominent in CG?
Yeah. When I first joined, the people that I did Machete Squad with, like the journalist, he called me and he's like, you can't be liking those tweets, man. And I'm like, oh, dude, I'm going to do what I want or whatever. And I don't know, we didn't talk after that. And
I didn't know did I miss that you knew him? Did I miss that part of the story that you knew him like pretty well, or
the journey? So he was the writer on that comic. So he and I had worked together for a whole year.
Okay.
And then he was kind of the one saying like, oh, don't do that. Like you kind of, it's like a night letter type thing. Like, we're not going to work with you again if you keep working with them. But there's a lot of little things too. Like I finished that job. I pitched them for an agent and I had 60 pages drawn, and they got back to me and they're like, everyone here at the office loves it, but we're going to pass on it. I'm like, well, that's it for me. Like I'm going to Comicsgate then. Right. And that's where I'm like, I'm so glad. Cause if I would have done that with them, I would have got like a maybe 20K for the whole job, maybe, you
Oh,
know.
you
And
wish. You wish.
yeah,
You want to know what they pay at these places?
yeah,
First of all, they don't give raises. DC pays a lot more than Marvel, and DC doesn't pay good either. Most of the people at Marvel and DC are getting their rate from the 90s. I'm not kidding. I
yeah,
know 'em. We talk. To color a page at DC is $135. A cover's 200. People are, I mean, inkers are getting like 160.
yeah.
160. You're gonna ink a page for like 12 hours to get 160. Do the math on that. You're better off at Jack in the Box.
I
You're
know.
better off at the deli you worked at.
Totally. Yeah. So
Yeah.
basically, yeah, I'm definitely making more money, and I can put my own books out. I own them, and now, like, I'm successful enough now that I'm hiring other artists to draw my stuff. You know.
And
So
doesn't that feel great, dude? You should be
it,
so proud of that.
yeah.
You really
Thanks.
should. You really should. That's
Uh,
yeah. I hired an artist for the first time in my life. The great Gary Martin. He's been inking for 40 years, Nexus and countless things, Marvel, DC, everywhere. I wrote up a contract and I hired him. And I'm like, wow, I just hired someone to make comic books. I hired a
yeah.
legend. So yeah, it's really awesome. So so you got bothered by Lemire. Did anyone else bother you?
There was someone, and then I kind of forgot who I've got less, like, the vendetta has gone away over the years. But I think in 2017 or something, it's what's his name? He has a picture of a dog on Twitter, and he's just a D-bag, anti-CG D-bag.
Hmm.
Someone in the chat might know. He's like kind of one of the more well-known just trolls who hate
Is he an
CG. And
artist or is he just a troll,
I
anti-CG
think he's a
troll?
writer. But yeah, and then who's the guy who did Kingdom Come too? Obviously, he was a big
Alex Ross or Mark Wade? The writer
Mark
and artist.
Wade. Yeah,
You know who Mark Wade? He's the
yeah,
hold on. I'm going to bring up a picture of him because I said this, and when you see it, you're going to laugh. So hold on. I was going to say it out loud, but I want to bring it up. I got to bring up the picture so you could have really laughed. I posit that Mark Wade is hold on, don't step on the punchline. He is the redheaded George Costanza.
oh yeah, that's
Jerry,
perfect.
Jerry, these guys are making white supremacist comics.
Yeah, that's so spot on. Yeah,
Come
and
on.
he's terrible. He's kind of been, I guess, he's another one who's kind of faded. I just haven't really seen him around or heard his name much. But he was so cringy and weird for a year or whatever. He's so terrible. And then, you know, of course, there's like a lawsuit and everything. But
Oh, that's hilarious. No, my friend Philippe Briones, a French animator from Disney France, who worked at Marvel, worked at DC, worked with me. We were going to do a CG book together, but I can't talk about he's not into it right now. He worked for Mark Wade at Humanoids when they were doing all those SJW comics like 2 years ago. But my friend Philippe is not an SJW at all, and he didn't know what these books were. But one of his friends from France got an editorial job there. So he said, well, Philippe, if you're tired of DC, come over to Humanoids with Mark Wade and John Cassidy. We've got a new book. And it was so SJW. It was terrible. I did a cover for them done by Yannick Paquette. And Philippe quit after like 2-3 issues because he said he would just argue with Kwanzaa. Do you remember Kwanzaa Johnson? He's another crazy one.
yeah,
Kwanzaa and Mark Wade were writing this book called The Ignited or something. And it was all SJW plot points. And Philippe was confused because he doesn't get into politics, but he is conservative. But he's like, if the bus crashed, why would the mother save the father and the baby? Wouldn't the father save the mother and the baby? And they would get all like furious with him and crazy. And he would just
man.
he would refute all their SJW.
Yeah, that's good to know too, that like if someone comes in not knowing, like if aliens came to Earth right now, they'd be like, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, we have common sense on our side, not only like, you know, just the right side or whatever, but it's just even common sense.
Right. I'm bringing up some art from that really quick. Hold on. Let me find that cover. Here's a page. Yannick Paquette wanted me to keep it really airbrushy and light. He didn't want too many cuts. So here it is. Let's see. He's such an amazing artist, Yannick Paquette, too. But Philippe went over to, so I did a tiny bit of work for Humanoids, like Humanity Reigns or some weird SJW stuff they were doing. My heart definitely wasn't in this. I didn't know what this crap totally was. But I did that cover with Yannick Paquette. And then I did a test page for the book. Philippe drew this. This is that book that Mark Waid and Kwanzaa wrote.
Yeah, you
And-
could see it's SJW. The
Right,
coloring.
and I didn't take this job because the page rate was like $80 a page or $70. It was horrible, the page rate.
Oh
But
yeah.
I was desperate for work at the time, so I was willing to work there. But then Philippe told me about the story with Mark Waid and all the stuff, and I was just freaking laughing when he told me all that. How he would
Yeah.
write these angry emails to Kwanzaa, like, I do not understand this story. So
Yeah.
very good time. Oh, here it is. Humanity first. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what your buddy, our boy Zach, always says.
Humanoids, humanity first.
Oh my God, look at the chat. We have the best fans. Look at that comment.
Yeah, I was trying to think of. I've been watching a ton of Seinfeld just the past few months, and I'm trying to think of George lines. I don't know. There's a bunch of them. But
Yeah, what a great show. The good thing about Seinfeld is it's moral because Jerry and Kramer and Elaine and George are bad people. And
Yeah.
they get what they deserve in that show. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They
Yeah,
do
I've
bad
heard
things
people-
and then-
yeah, it got so popular. There's kind of like this movement against it of contrarians saying like it's not so good. They're all just psychopaths. It's not even funny. And I'm like, well, they're very aware that they're psychopaths. That's part of the joke. Is like Jerry telling George like, we're not men, we're boys. What's wrong with us? I'm like, that's hilarious.
Oh my gosh, I love the Summer of George when he thought
Yeah.
he was gonna have
I just saw that one. It's gonna be the
Oh,
summer
we
of George.
Yeah. Oh my God. Paul Bachlada. Sorry if I got you wrong there, buddy. Bachleda. Sorry. It hurts seeing Wade, the redheaded George Costanza, at the head of Humanoids. Jodorowsky. How do you say that? I know he's that director. Meta Barons
Yeah,
is still one of my favorite.
I've heard it Jodorowsky with a.
Oh, that could be it. Oh, okay. Oh, important question. The Ragu Overlord, who's always here. Thank you for always being here, Ragu Overlord. Can I get Earthbound on Amazon?
No, but it's in demand on Indiegogo, so you can still get it there just with a credit card pretty easily.
Let me copy and then paste into the chat. Earthbound. There you go. It's in there, Ragu Overlord. Would there be a reason you couldn't just buy it on Indiegogo? Let us know. So let's see. Oh, here we go. That Zach recommended made me interested, and I had not heard of the book. Well, thank your boy Zach when you see him.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I've got 3 sales tonight, so thanks.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, one was from me for Earthbound.
Yeah, nice.
And I signed up for the mailing list. And I do expect everyone here watching to sign up for the mailing list for Nosferatu because that doesn't cost you nothing. And
yeah, and I'm gonna do something. I haven't even decided yet, but I think I'll give a free print maybe for everyone. You'll get the secret.
I would go into your thing and edit this page right here and write that on there. I wrote it on mine that everyone gets a free trading card.
Yeah.
And I would put that on there, and I would also put the date. I put the date on mine. Let me show you mine. You tell me what you think really quick. I'll bring mine up so you could compare notes. Tell me if you think I screwed something up here. Where's mine? Okay, here's mine. I'll show you. So here's the Truth, Justice, American Way early sign up page. Yeah. And then there's a little video here. It's that same video. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I think it's what video I had. Yeah, it's that same video. How do I close this? I guess I just click outside. And it says February 21st, Heroes You Can Believe in return in an all-new 64-page full-color graphic novel. Sign up and receive an exclusive trading card when you're back. So I put a little bit more information on there just to entice people. And
yeah, good point. I need to do that. I think I will before I launch.
Yeah, let me show that trading card. Actually, this is not the final art. This was a mock-up I made for David Williams and Gary Martin to look at. But we have some iconic shots that Dave did for promotional art. So I just copied the 1988 Topps baseball card set my grandma bought me when I was in 4th grade. I just copied that layout as just kind of a throwback to the 80s. So this will basically be how the cards look. If you get on the mailing list, though, that your card's different than everyone else's when it unlocks as a stretch goal later. So I don't know if it'll be written in foil or the color will be different on the border or the name, but there will be something denoting that you were on the mailing list. So it'll be a one-of-a-kind card that you can't get, you can't buy, nothing like that. And then also being on the mailing list, you get to see trailers before people see them, artwork before people see them, and just the latest news. And so please sign up for that. That's in the description. So cool. That's the trading card there.
Looks great.
Thank you very much. So where were we? We were talking about the redheaded George Costanza.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hold on. Oh, here's a good one. Look at that.
Nice. Richard Lasura. He'll buy sometimes like boxes or like multiple books from me basically. And so he's a
Very
good backer.
cool. Do you have a retailer pack? Are you going to have a retailer pack?
I don't know. Yeah, I got to think about what I'll do. Maybe I got some books in a store in Portland recently, and the guy sent me pictures, and I was like, oh, it feels so good because I've never seen that really, never had that happen. And that one I just mailed them to him, and then he put them in, so it's not even like distribution other than me mailing him some books. But
that's a little sad for me to think of for you and Bancroft and Mandy and Shanth and all those guys. Is I remember the first day my first DC comic was in the comic store, and I drove there, picked it up off the shelf, and took a picture with it. How amazing that felt! It was issue like 8 of Midnighter, I think.
Yeah.
I was given the job to color Midnighter back in 2008 or 9 or something like that. That was my first solo work. My first work for them was like on Gen 13 or something like that, the relaunch in 2008. But to go into a store and like I colored this whole book, what a great thing. So I'm happy that your book is in a store, even if you're the one that took it there or whatever. That's an awesome feeling, man.
Yeah, thanks.
So, very cool. Let's see. Yes, looks good. I think he's talking about the trading card. Do you know yet? You said you think they might get a print or something like that. Do you have any idea about any stretch goals? Anything you would want to talk about, or you're not ready to talk about anything like that yet?
Yeah, let me show one thing here. I'll pull it up. Where is it? It's and I'm going to include like a gallery of pinups in the back, and there's one that is really cool because it's Alejandro Mirabal.
Oh, he's a genius with that Long Harbor. Is that
yeah.
I missed that. I didn't back it, and I don't know that I can get now.
Yeah.
You want me to add it now?
Yeah. And he's doing NFT stuff right now. He's super successful with NFTs. But so I commissioned him, and this is the Nosferatu art he did. So this might be the free print everyone gets. It'll also definitely be in the gallery.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's so cool. I'll zoom in.
Look at that.
With his art, you can zoom in and it looks good no matter how close you get.
Yeah, goodness. Yeah. Alejandro Mirabal is a freaking talent. And a funny guy too.
Yeah, he's cool, and he has an interesting life. Like he was a scuba diver, treasure hunter before he was a comic artist.
I think I heard him on Doug to Naples channel once talking about that.
Yeah. His job was like, I think it might have been underwater photography. I might be making some of this up, but it was cool.
Just make up anything. Who cares?
Oh no, that's what it was. It was that you can't take photos underground or underwater to the degree that they were, and so all you can do is draw it. So he was an artist who would draw stuff underwater, and I think he might memorize it then draw it. I don't know if he'd be down there with the scuba thing drawing with a waterproof pencil or whatever, but
that's fascinating. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm going to call the horny police on Enrique Cabrera. Are we getting a calendar of Truth, Justice, American Way, but mostly truth? I'm calling the horny police. Woo! They're coming to get you. This person says I'm more interested in justice. Well, okay, good. I'm glad people like them. We have fan art, Narwhal. I got a guy that's drawn all 3 of our characters already and posted them on Facebook and Twitter. I was like so impressed.
Awesome.
Like when you have fan art, that means you got like people are interested in this thing. So
it's like every one fan art means there's more out there, people being into it.
I'll tell you, when they denied you entry into the mainstream, with the whole Lemire thing and that we're going to pass on your book, dude, they did you such a favor. Here you are being an artist, just doing what you want to do, your artistic vision, like artistic integrity, and then making a good living off of it. You can't ask for more. You know what I mean? When I was working for DC, I'm compromising my integrity, compromising my morals, making a nice paycheck, but not happy. And when you work in the mainstream, you wake up panicked every day because the deadline is fucked on every single issue. It's like, I don't know why the editors can't get these people in line. I never missed a deadline in over 20 years as a professional. I've never missed one deadline. But they let everyone just blow the deadline. I'm like, okay. And then you're working all Labor Day. You're working late into the night. It's not pleasant, and they don't pay enough. So they did you a favor. Graham Nolan told me that when they told me at DC, I resigned. and they praised me, and we thank you, Gabe, for all your work, because I didn't tell them where I was going. I just said, I have a new opportunity. It's been a fun 15 years. Thank you, privilege, blah, blah, blah. Jim Lee wrote me back. Everyone wrote me back. We love you, love you, love you. Then I went on Ethan's show and dog custom, said, I'm tired of this shit. And then the next day they told me, we don't want you to finish the contract, because I was going to keep, I'd be working into March to finish the books. I'd still be working on JLA versus Legion right now. I had a contract for that. So they tell me, we don't want you to work on it, but then they paid it out. So I'm like, okay.
You got best of both worlds then.
So I don't have to do this work, but you're going to send me the money? So anyway, Graham Nolan told me they pushed you off of the Titanic into a life raft. And I feel like when they held you out of some real garbage. So
yeah, that's true. It's cool how it's all playing out.
Right. And you wouldn't make nearly the money you're going to make doing this. You know what I mean? The page rates are terrible. Like I remember IDW, they paid me for pencil, ink, and color. It was for Gene Simmons' House of Horrors or something like that. $125, pencil, ink, and color.
Yeah, that's like slave wages. I don't know.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, here Dan Lawless is commenting on why they don't need you there. Free thinking people need not apply. That's why they didn't need you.
Yeah, there was a little like horror story or whatever early with Earthbound. Is I think I finished basically the first issue, which is like 36 pages. Even it's not really a 20-page issue kind of thing, but the first chunk where it feels like that could be an issue, 36 pages. I finished it. I posted that for just all of it on Facebook. I was still on Facebook back in that day. And a few editors followed me, just random, I don't know where, but one of the editors, he DM'd me and he said, just read Earthbound. It's fantastic. Would you ever consider publishing it in print? And I was like, wait, what? This is like, I just started trying this dream and it's already like, maybe this is going to happen. And I was like, this is like too good to be true. I can't believe it. And so I was talking to that editor for like couple of weeks. We're going back and forth. He was reading the longer script. Then out of nowhere, he kind of ghosted me. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? And then he was working at Oni Press after that. So he did move to a different company. And I talked to him later. I found him at a convention and I was like, why'd you ghost me? And he had deer in the headlights. Like, I hope this guy's not going to like kill me or something. And I'm like, I didn't tell. I mean, I was just kind of waiting for my answer. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm sorry. I got a job at a new company. You know how it is, something like that. And I was like,
yeah,
I guarantee this is some SJW shit going on.
Right. Well, that's the thing that's so confounding to me is men not being men anymore, man. Like, tell me to my face, dude. Like, don't be a chicken shit and just ghost me or something like that. Like, you got something to say, then say it. I don't need to work for you, but don't be a pussy. Good.
Yeah, and then the vibe being like somehow I'm like threatening him by asking him where he went or whatever, But yeah,
your words were violence, Narwhal.
Yeah.
This is terrible. I disavow this fully. Narwhal disavows it. Everyone, YouTube, we all disavow it, and I'm not even going to read it out loud. So
I want to start winking more in general, though. I'll try that.
Yeah, I got to up my wink game. You ever meet someone that can't wink?
No, but I've met people who can wink, and I'm like, that's amazing. They wink at me. I go, oh, so awesome.
The ability I've always wanted is the 2 fingers in the mouth and then the big whistle. Can't do it.
Oh yeah, I can't. That'd be another one. That'd be great to have.
Yeah, that'd be
awesome. Like the perfect wink that they'll pull off. They'll say something and they just look at you. They go like that or whatever. I'm like, that was so awesome. A real life wink. I just lived through a wink exchange. I'm like, do I wink back? I don't know.
Speaking of special skills, do you have any special physical skills? Can you dunk a basketball? Can you hold your breath for 5 minutes? Like, what can Narwhal do that is physically amazing?
Yeah,
besides the beard.
Yeah, I don't know. Is one of my memes is Narwhal fitness, and so I'm into like kind of eating healthy and working out a little bit, but I don't even work out that much. I drink a lot of protein shakes and then do like push-ups and pull-ups is kind of all I do.
Very cool. So we could annoy everyone and talk about diet and keto and macros and working out and staying hydrated. Because I'm into all of it, dude. I love it.
Yeah,
I lifted weights for 3 hours today, just so you know.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
it's
Graham Nolan is into it too. Me and him get on
right.
sometime.
Just here's a little behind the scenes for everyone watching. I work at home for years, but because of COVID, my wife works at home permanently now too. She's an accountant. My office was over there, like 15 feet away. Now my office is my garage, and that's
Oh,
I have a full bench press and squat rack. That's an air conditioner I need to put somewhere. But yeah, this is a green screen here. But yeah,
cool.
I'm way into. I got a full Olympic set for weightlifting and all that. So I get after it. I love it, man. So
The green screen's a nice. It's cool too. That's cool. You can just raise it and then you see like the world.
yeah, it was $150 on Amazon. So that's all. And then I just screwed it into the rafters here in the garage. So
Nice.
I got a nice setup here. Enrique Cabrera, he's done being amorous for my character. This whole winking conversation seems like a literal episode of Seinfeld. Did you see that one where George got grapefruit in his eye and he couldn't quit winking? And everyone thought he was being sneaky and insincere.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, when I was trying to learn how to write, I wrote one spec episode of Seinfeld, but I can't remember.
Fun.
I can't remember that much of it. It was like Kramer was trying to help someone move in with us, and he had to move their snake in. So he's going up the stairs with the snake, and then he gets bit by the snake at some point, and he's like, "I'm bit, Jerry."
There's an amazing Twitter account called like Modern Seinfeld, and they change everything to like the technology we have now. And there's and it's a Twitter account, so just short tweets that give like little ideas. And one of them, it's like George gets busted by his girlfriend when he goes into someone's apartment and he connects to the Wi-Fi automatically, like he's been there before. And check it. I don't know what it's called. I think it's called Modern Seinfeld, the Twitter account. It's amazing. I like this.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Danky Frankie, I love this. Tell us, I'm trying to lose weight, lost 25 pounds in January, but he's hit a wall. He's hit a wall. I'll tell you this. I was a big fatso. I was 320 pounds, sitting at a desk, drawing all day, out of shape, couldn't do like 10 push-ups. Everything hurt. And I was 33. I'm 43 now. I saw a picture of myself at the beach my daughter took on Memorial Day. Oh, shit. And that day, I'm like, nope, not doing this. So since then, I walk twice a day. I lift weights 4 times a week and all that. But through all the weightlifting and all blah, 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 it's diet. Like I can lift all the weights I want. I can run 5,000 miles. You cannot out-train a bad diet. I'm not a doctor. Don't take medical advice from me. But what have you found, Narwhal? It's diet, right? I mean, that's everything.
Yeah, and I've found like Twitter has its own like rabbit holes that you follow like accounts and get deeper into it. And some of it's inspirational and good. There's a whole school of thought on Twitter, on like fitness Twitter, where they really hate seed oils, which is like canola oil and I don't know.
Terrible. Stuff's poison.
Yeah. And it's weird though, if you look at like what has canola oil in it or some of these bad oils, it's like everything that comes in a box or a package. So
right.
So yeah, like if I've heard sometimes they say like if you're shopping at the grocery store, if you stay around the edges with like the meat and the vegetables, if you go into where the boxes are, then you're probably getting some seed oils. And that's like just like a general thing that can kind of help a little bit.
I've heard that exact same thing. I think you're exactly right. Hold on. My wife is bringing me a drink. See, I don't have to beg like Shane Davis to get a sandwich here. No, at least put your hand on camera.
Oh, okay.
So people can see you hand it to me. See, there you go.
Oh, nice.
Thank you, dear. That is Mrs. Gabe.
Nice. Mrs. Gabe. Nice to meet you.
She's the accountant. She does all my taxes. So if there's something wrong, I'll visit her in jail. You know what I mean? Conjugal visit.
Yeah.
So I love the idea of your Seinfeld story. I wrote a spec script when I was working at Hewlett Packard when I was 18 or 19 on an assembly line. I was a ESD inspector and a safety inspector there. I wrote a spec script for The Simpsons, and it was all Marvel comic'd out. I don't remember the story, but everyone got powers. There was like Silver Surfer Bart because of his skateboard, and they ended up doing an episode like that later where Homer turned into the Hulk or something.
Yeah, The Simpsons has done everything, they say. That's cool though. Yeah, it's fun to try and write for these other characters. That's a good way to learn too. When I was early, it's hard to when I was young, hard to create characters and then write stories for them, but you could write stories for other characters and then you're kind of learning some of that way.
Oh yeah, and it's such good practice. I heard Hunter S. Thompson, the great writer and journalist, he famously wrote I think Moby Dick just looking at it and typing. He just copied it
Oh.
like we would trace a drawing, to learn. He
Yeah.
said he just wanted to know what it felt like to have that come out of his hands. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's a true story, but I've heard it and I like
That
it. So
that's cool. Yeah, I've never heard that. That's like fascinating, and I could feel that definitely maybe doing something. I listened to the first half of Moby Dick book on tape like just like 6 months ago or something, and it's weird. I didn't know it's like a comedy for a lot of it. It's like stand-up comedy almost. And then so I was telling that to people, like it's if you read the first couple pages, it's like this big long book, and if it's good for a book on tape in the background, but I don't know if I'd be able to read it otherwise. But the first few pages, it's like a stand-up comedy routine about the ocean. And he says like, whenever I feel like I'm about to punch someone for no reason, I know I have to go to the beach or something like that. And then he's just like talking, and it starts with him. He's like, call me Ishmael. And I don't know, but yeah, what was I going to say? Oh, so someone told me that Norm Macdonald once, as like a troll or whatever, he did a whole show where all he did was read Moby Dick from the first page. He read the first like 20 pages of Moby Dick for a
that's
comedy show.
funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. The guy, he's older now, like in his 70s, but he played, there was a TV show like in the 80s or 90s where he was a college football coach and it was called Coach. He's kind of a tall guy, white guy. He's been in a lot of he's a character actor. He did some stand-up. It doesn't matter who he is. He did some stand-up in the 60s and 70s. I heard him talking about it on an interview where him and his buddy came out with guitars and sat down and then literally tuned the guitars for like 15 minutes. Like, ding, 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 ding. And you thought they were going to play a song eventually. They just tuned them for 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's
hilarious.
awesome. That's so
Yeah,
funny.
what is
I
that
wanted to
guy's
do that
name?
at the high school talent show. So I applied, but I didn't get in because I wasn't even good enough to get like into the talent show. But because I had to play guitar to get in, and then my plan was to just tune it until every string broke and then walk off. I was gonna like troll the talent show.
That's hilarious. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. That reminds me of hold on one second. I want to show. Here he is. I gotta put mine in. Add to stream. Craig T. Nelson, the guy on the right there with the greenish gray shirt. He was the one just tuning a guitar for 500 years on stage.
Oh yeah.
Which I think is
good.
hilarious.
Yeah.
So let's see. Kind of lost my place there. What were we on? I don't really know.
Yeah.
Where-
now
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I'm super glad that you keep talking to me this whole time, but we can sort of wrap up in the next 10
It'd be
minutes.
weird if I had you on here and just ignored you. That'd be a very strange thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I sang you a song at the beginning of the show. Come on, how many people have serenaded you?
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, for those of you that came in late, please go watch the first 5 minutes of the show. I literally sang a song that I wrote for Narwhal. So yes.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, have you seen the meme from Seinfeld where it's like all red light and Jerry's like, Kramer, what is this?
Oh,
And
you almost made me spit everywhere.
yeah, you see, it's like The Last Jedi, and Kramer goes, it's the worst movie ever made, Jerry.
Do you want to talk about the new Star Wars movies? Can I tell you how Star Wars is a Greek tragedy for me? Would you like to hear a little bit about my sad tale of Star Wars?
Yeah. Tell me your version of it.
Okay, here's how I personally destroyed Star Wars. As a young boy, my parents were, I think, in like graduate school and working. My brother was in kindergarten. I was too young to, go to school. I would sit in the back of my grandparents' Mexican restaurant and pull out endless feet of butcher paper and draw Star Wars battles. I was obsessed with Star Wars battles. My first conscious memories. It was my favorite thing. Star Wars from age 2.5, 3 years old until whatever. I love Star Wars. And you know how Oedipus in the Greek tragedy, he murders his own father and marries his mother. And, he doesn't realize he ruins the thing he should love or whatever. In a Greek tragedy, you always have that. 2011 or 2014, I don't remember. Carlos Deonda calls me up and says he got the job drawing the brand new Dark Horse Star Wars series that Brian Wood's going to write. Star Wars hadn't done anything in like 10 years. It hadn't had any traction, any money, any nothing. We do that book. Alex Ross covers 7 printings, like 1 million copies of the first issue. It's the biggest hit Star Wars has had in like 20 years. 3 months into our run, we did 20 issues. Disney buys Star Wars. Now, I'm not saying Disney bought Star Wars because of our comic, but I'm saying they bought it at least 1% because of our comic.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm sure they'd been negotiating for years. Those are giant deals. They're probably negotiating for years with George Lucas. But I bet when that comic went gangbusters, someone at least said, hey, this still has life, this property.
Yeah.
So, as the world's greatest Star Wars fan, Star Wars is what got me into drawing at first, and then I led to comics. I helped kill Star Wars by letting Disney buy it. At least in some small way, I'm responsible for Rey and Finn and all the garbage you've had to endure. I apologize.
Damn you, sir. What
No,
did
don't damn me. No.
after the 3 issues, did they mess with the run at all, or did you get to finish the whole
No,
run?
and it was awesome. It was a story between the first episode 4, A New Hope, and Empire. It was the story of finding Hoth, and it's freaking amazing.
Cool.
And Carlos is a genius illustrator, and by issue 3, it's like, oh, Disney just bought Star Wars. And I remember the editor, Randy Stradley, he was so upset because, he knew what that meant. And he'd been writing Star Wars since the 70s when he started at Marvel, writing Star Wars adventures in the late 70s. And he'd been the head of all the Star Wars at Dark Horse for, what was that, like 25 years? They had the license. So he was heartbroken. He let us, that it would be going away after we finished our stuff. A funny postscript to that, though. Marvel took it all away. We finished the 20-issue run, and I did another miniseries with Matt Kind and someone else. And then like 4 years later, I'm on, after it's gone, it's been at Marvel for a few years now. I don't work on it anymore. Like 4 or 5 years later, I'm on Facebook for God knows what reason. And you know how if you don't know someone, they message you, it goes into another folder?
Yeah.
I just clicked on that folder and I didn't even know it existed, that folder. And there's messages from years and years and years ago. And there's a message from Brian Overton at Talent Relations at Disney Marvel Studios or whatever. And they owe me thousands of dollars in royalties because Marvel reprinted all the stuff I did. So it was a really nice surprise. I had to fill out all this Disney paperwork and I got a big check, but they had owed it to me for years. It was an old message. I'm glad the guy still worked there when I contacted him.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome. That's like the equivalent of finding a $20 bill in your pocket, but like way better.
So I helped kill Star Wars at least 1%. So
yeah, in that Greek tragedy kind of way, by doing too good that it attracted Disney.
Right. It helped push. I feel like I'll be very arrogant and say our comic put the deal over the top. I know that's probably not true.
You flew too close to the sun.
That's what didn't George say that he flew too close to the sun on wings of like ham and cheese or something when he was doing he was combining sex and food. Do you remember that?
Yep. I just saw that one recently too. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I'll show you this. Now I was here's a fun thing for me though. And you can tell by looking at me here, I've lost weight since. This is me and my cousin Allison in July. Don't be alarmed. She's Korean and adopted. You see that blue and white X-Wing back there? I'm the guy that came up with the blue and white X-Wings, and now it exists. That's at Disneyland. If you go to Disneyland, the Star Wars land, let me find some other pictures real quick. And I also came up with the I was chunky in the summer, a lot chunkier. I also came up with the black, orange, and the black and red X-Wings, and they're life size, and they're there at Disneyland.
Wow,
so
that looks awesome.
So that is a thrill to go to Disneyland and see something that you came up with exist in 3D like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Let's see this. Thank you, Frank. Gabe is responsible for what they did. No, I'm not. No, please. I take it all back. He says I ruined Star Wars, removed for the Truth Test American way. No, here's why. Hold on. Don't go. This is my Truth Justice American way makes up for it. It makes up for Star Wars. It's my penance to apologize for doing that. So wait, that was your wife. No, that's my cousin Allison. So you may have noticed she's Asian. She's adopted. I am not an Asian man. So no. So I'll let you go soon. I saw you yawning. I saw that. You're tired.
Oh, yeah.
You've been a good sport putting up with all my nonsense. Do you have any last word on the books, or were we done talking about that, or how do you feel about it?
No, yeah, just so everyone knows that they're out there. The mailing list, Earthbound 2 is still in demand. That's it. But yeah.
Okay. So the final question of the night. Do you watch any of the new Star Wars stuff? The Yoda show? What is not Jango Fett? Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And then
no, I haven't seen any of that. Yeah. Or Boba Fett. Yeah. I'm glad to not. Also, I'm avoiding it. I see the clips. I'm like, it makes me mad.
Yeah. I've heard that the Book of Boba Fett is trash. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed the Mandalorian. I will admit that. I won't be fronting and act like I didn't like it.
Yeah,
So-
I think it's not as bad. And that one has the one guy behind it who's actually pretty good. He's good behind Marvel too. Do you know what I'm talking about? The guy who
Yeah,
does Iron Man and stuff.
oh yeah, that John Favreau.
Yeah.
Yeah. He plays the buddy of Iron Man. Yeah. You're right. But what's that guy's name? That character?
I forget. He's
I
good in
forget
the
too.
new Spider-Man movie too. That character. He's
Yeah,
funny.
he's a good actor. That guy actually,
Yeah.
he's pretty good and a great writer director apparently. Okay,
Yeah.
well, it was a pleasure having you on here. We definitely have to do this again. When you launch, I will come on your channel if you want. You're welcome on mine anytime to promote anything like that. But yeah, this was absolutely nice. I feel like I know you a little bit better. The mystery that is Narwhal. I will not sing you out though. Anyone that wants to see me singing the Narwhal song, please go back and watch the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. Hey, it's immortal. It lives forever on the internet now. So
That is true. I'm people are gonna clip it and like just roast me on it. I don't care. That's if I cared, I wouldn't have put it out there. So whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, chat. We will talk to you guys later. Tomorrow I'm going to do father-daughter dance with my daughter Minnie, the comedian. Will be on here, I think, tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon sometime. Where are you going to be, Narwhal? Where can they check you out online or anything like that?
Yeah, just on Twitter and YouTube. If you search Narwhal Books, that's me. So
And that's your Twitter and YouTube are the same. They're both Narwhal Books.
yeah, on Twitter it's like plaster_Harris is like the handle that. So, but I think if you search Narwhal, I'll come
Let
out.
me just grab that and throw that in here because people aren't going to remember Plaster Harris. Sorry, we were trying to end the show, but you know me, I usually have about 3 or 4 endings.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, that was from an old, when I made my campaign, didn't even know what Twitter was when I made my profile way back when. Have since got into it. Now I'm like addicted to Twitter. But
Isn't it the worst? Because you read it and then you get mad and then you read something you like and then you get happy. And it's just insanity. It's just a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So I just threw it in the chat. It's Plaster Harris. I'm easy to find because I have such a unique name. It's Gabe El Taib, and El Taib is Beetle, like the band, spelled backwards. It's a real name. It's not a pen name. It's Arabic. So anyway, thank you all for joining us. I'll see you tomorrow. See you guys around. All right. Bye.
Bye, everyone.